Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 369th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call so far is just me and Andy, waiting for Rapping Rob Kelly to join us. We were giving him an extra couple of minutes, and then StreamYard started saying, come on, lads, get a move on. You need to start pressing record and get on with this shit. So here we are, episode 369. You might have noticed, unless you're in a complete stupor with this corona business, it is Monday night and not Sunday evening. We did try to go live last night. Unfortunately, things did not quite work out. We were speaking to Shinny Bayar, managed to get an interview with him, which has gone up on the YouTube channel in its best possible format. I was having computer issues, unfortunately, but hopefully they're all sorted out now. I'm on the desktop tonight, and you can all hear me okay. Andy's with us anyway. Let's get Andy in and see how he's getting on. Are you still in one piece, Andy, at the moment?
Yeah, we're doing fine, mate. Hopefully all's good over there. Out in the garden today, doing a bit of pressure hose, washing, doing things and stuff like that. I've actually got some cast iron downpipes and stuff, and I need to get them painted. And I'm looking at them. I've got like 3 big, massive bastards there. I'm like saying to myself, I need to rub these motherfuckers down, get all the rust off it, all the flicky paint and stuff. I'm saying to myself, this is going to be a fucking week's job minimum. So I decided to sack it off, and I got the pressure washer out, clean my decking down and stuff, and I just took it to the downpipes, and guess what happened? The paint started coming off, so I spent all day just blasting the fucking paint off my downpipes with a pressure washer. So at the end, I sat out in the sun with a couple of cold cans and stuff, and yeah, we're doing our best stuff. But hopefully in 3 weeks' time we can get back to some sort of normality in that. Obviously, we don't want to talk about the coronavirus and shit, but I just see that Nicola Sturgeon. I know we want to talk politics and stuff. I'm not a big fan of the SNP and shit, but they're saying like sports fans, football fans, stuff like that, they shouldn't be getting their hopes up about returning to any stadia anytime soon. So, where the fuck are we going to be at here, man? I mean, we're talking June. Some people are talking June or trying to kind of push for June to get things back open again. Some people are saying August. UEFA's still saying that the football season's not finishing anytime soon and stuff. But they've got the Scottish Chief Medical Officer basically saying is that he would be against live sports on TV in front of empty crowds or empty arenas, because it would then it would probably entice people who kind of go to these fights or games and stuff to basically congregate in people's houses or public places and watch it on the widescreen TVs and stuff. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, you're going to start using that to kind of, so we can't. I mean, we need live fights, don't we? We really need some live fight. We need some live sport at least, some live tiddlywinks. I don't know, something. But it's if you've got kids at this time, I don't envy you. I don't envy you. Like, I really don't envy you. And I feel sorry for them, as I said last week, in that, because they're obviously bored and that. But fucking hell, man, they test a long line of patience, no end.
Yeah, luckily where we are, it's out in the countryside and there's plenty of fields and that for the kids to run around with. But I mean, things are even getting tough out here. Stir crazy. They're fighting each other all the time. They've got the boxing gloves out earlier, trying to wrestle with one another. It is absolutely bonkers. But I'm the same as you, Andy. They've got me doing jobs and stuff. I've been spraying down the bathroom, all the shit off the walls and scraping it, getting ready to do a bit of painting this week. And it just feels weird at the moment. That's the main thing. No sport. You're not allowed to go out and all that. Or if you do go out, you've got to stand so many distance apart with each other. I've been trying to go to Tesco's at 6 o'clock in the morning to try and avoid all that.
I'll tell you something. I'll give you 2 funny stories. Right. Well, first one was this morning. I went to work this morning, right, and the cops had to fucking dodge him. So Scotland's Finest is out actually harassing essential workers and people going for the food shopping, and then giving the big I am interrogation, whilst also then checking insurance, license, registration, and your fucking tyres for good measure. Surprised they didn't check your aisle and water while they're at it, But I was in Sainsbury's last week actually, and obviously you get this 2 metre distance between the queues and that, so you get held outside for a couple of minutes while the queue in front gets kind of like down the aisles and stuff. And I don't know if she was Chinese or if she was, she was from Asia anyway, right? And she had the fucking face mask on. No idea about social distancing. Everywhere I went, she was fucking there, literally like almost up my arse. And I'm saying to myself, this bitch is doing my nothing, and I'm going to lose fucking control. And I'm like, I'm trying to follow the fucking rules and advice we've been given, right? So I walk down the aisle again, get some carrots, and she's fucking back over my shoulder. I says, bitch, you're gonna fucking. I fucking went down the next aisle. I was looking for some peppers and stuff like that, and there she's there again. And I just turned back and I says, what the fuck are you doing? Stand back, wait your fucking turn. And she's like, oh, okay. And she
Didn't
fucks
cough
off.
on her, did you, Andy?
No, I didn't fuck. She fucks off and goes down the fucking meat aisle. I'm saying to myself, bitch, I thought you were looking for fucking vegetables 2 seconds ago. Now you're away looking for fucking meat. But she was up my arse, man, for about 2 minutes. I'm saying to myself, this isn't happening. And they go about with a fucking face mask, goes like it's some sort of kind of false positive, you know? Like, fuck off.
Trading Leather Boxing says, was it the Guru's missus?
No, I've noticed her, man. She's with child and that. So, hey, I'll give you a funny story about Tommy actually as well. We were at it, right? So Tommy's missus messaged him last night on FaceTime or Facebook Live or whatever it was and stuff like that, saying she's a wee bit kind of frightened. Had a nightmare about ghosts and stuff, and she's scared of ghosts. So she asked Tommy to actually kind of like stay awake with her and kind of watch her go back to sleep and stuff. Tommy's like, no problem at all, hen. You go back to sleep. So he takes a screenshot of her kind of with the eyes closed and getting really heavily sleepy, stuff like that. Like 10 minutes later, and he shouts like, "Ghost!" She's fucking woken up. This is a woman, remember, who's 6 months fucking pregnant. And he shouts fucking ghost. And she shakes her pants, man. She's fucking raging. Holy steaks. Fuck, only Tommy could pull that shit off. Fucking
Indeed.
some man.
We did reach out to the Guru to try and get him on tonight. He hasn't responded as yet, but who knows, he might turn up back with us. So just do a bit of housekeeping then, everybody. As you can notice, we are back on YouTube live. It's supposed to be Sundays from 8 o'clock. It's Mondays at the moment. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes, as always. And you can catch us during the week. Welcome to everybody listening during the week on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. And shout out to everybody in the chat as well. Hope you're all staying, 2 meters apart from each other. We don't want any accidents happening here on our watch. See Tommy Allen for claims if there are any problems. Take Ames is in the chat there doing his bit. Yeah, 50 people hanging around. Hit the like button. Hit the dislike button if you think we're shit. Do whatever you want. Mark Pritchard's there, Trading Leather Boxing. Hope you're well, sir. Good to see you in there, Trading Leather Boxing. Good to see you indeed. MB as well, Gary Lockwood, Swaggy Taggy. Guys tuning in from YouTube, Facebook, all over the world. Just about coming up to about 7,000, not as many as usual, about 7,000 in the chat there, just hanging around, just thinking about, just remembering the good old days, Andy. Remember the good old days when you used to go outside? Sepia tinted times indeed.
Oh, they were the days, mate. I mean, I'm pale blue, in skin tone most year round, but I'm seriously going something fucking awful here. I'm like milky white now, man. It'd be great. See when the pubs open again, by the way, it's going to be like an SAS fucking platoon trying to get into the pubs and that. They'll be creeping out your fucking holes and stuff like that, trying to get to the fucking door. Are you home? Are you fucking sure? How many pints can we get? 10? Oh, anything we want. Fucking come on. Oh, I can't wait for the pubs to open again, like, because it was always handy to go down to the shop for a pint of milk, but nip out the pub on the way past to get the fucking pint and then get the milk and then the way back and get another pint on the way back. Couldn't beat it.
Better talk a bit of boxing then, Andy. Let's move on, shall we? Joe Kennedy was thanking you, actually, as I was mentioning last night, from what you could have heard. Joe Kennedy was thanking you for putting things up on your channel. You have a YouTube channel going there, Andy. You're putting new fights on all the time. Joe, it's been helping him get through. Joe's a good guy over on Patreon, one of our regular listeners as well. What new fights have you been uploading onto the old El Cholo channel?
I think, well, obviously, as you can, I've been cutting through Edwin Valero's career and stuff. Some Junku Chang, for any of you younger listeners and stuff. Chang was South Korean light flyweight. He was WBC champ for heavy rain. Fought Shot Chetilada, German Torres. I think he was voted into the Hall of Fame as well. So he is I don't know if he's the only Korean or the first Korean or whatever that, but he's definitely a Hall of Famer. I actually came across some old copies of Joe Gann's fights and stuff. They're not great quality, right? So, there's one of them like over an hour long. Watch it if you want, but as I say, it's not great quality. I stuck it up there because like 1910 or something like that, 1907 or something. So I just stuck it up there just for people to see it. Some Julio Cesar Chavez and some Archie Moore. So, yeah, I've been kind of ticking over. The day I was watching, I didn't upload it actually, but I actually watched it on YouTube, was Lomachenko against Campbell again, actually. I was quite surprised, just kind of rewatching it as to how good Campbell actually fought, but you could see just that slight different levels. Lomachenko's like elite, whereas Campbell's just that slightly below. I mean, he did well. He hurt Lomachenko a couple of times, visibly hurt him anyway, backed him up a few times and that as well, but Lomachenko, even though he was physically the smaller guy, and Campbell was a big lightweight, but he gave him some heavy weather as well, Lomachenko. So really good fight to go back and watch. But sadly, to kind of sit and listen to Adam Smith again is just something you didn't want to be doing during this difficult period.
No, one fight I've been going back and watching. I've been trying to go back over fights that I haven't seen for years, and I remember only watching once. And a lot of the times, Andy, you go back on these fights and you think to yourself, you remember it happening a certain way, but whenever you watch it again, it didn't quite happen how you remember. And this is why I want to go back and watch the two fights between Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz. I was lucky enough to be ringside for both of them. The first one in New York, where Frampton won, and the second one in Vegas, where he lost narrowly. I haven't actually sat and watched them since the night, so I'm wondering, watching them back on TV, with or without commentary, whether I'll have a different perception. Also, question coming in later from Ben Thorns. He was talking about Canelo Triple G2. That's a fight I'm also going to go back and watch. I did it this week. 2001, November 2001, William Joppy against Howard Eastman for the vacant WBA World Middleweight title in Las Vegas. I'm just going to check actually while we're live what undercard it was on. I seem to remember it was on a big... Yeah, it was on the rematch between Lennox Lewis and Hasim Rahman. That was it. And at the time, I remember listening to Sky's commentary. It was Ian Dark, maybe alongside Glenn McCrory, Jim Watt, somebody like that. And I thought to myself, Howard Eastman was... hard done to. I thought he might have got that. No, this was Eastman's next fight after he had knocked out Robert McCracken, who actually went on to be his trainer in the end. But he'd knocked out McCracken, got the shot at Joppy, went over to America, and I thought he was hard done to at the time. But looking back, I think he was a worthy loser. I had Joppy by about 3 points. I just don't think that Eastman worked hard enough. He was a very lethargic fighter. He dropped him at one point. He had the skill, he had the talent, he had the big shock white beard. But 19 years ago, this is how old this fight was, and I was lucky enough to see Howard Eastman in the flesh. But 19 years ago, he just didn't do enough to win. So do you go back sometimes, Andy, and watch fights and you have a picture of it in your mind, and sometimes things actually play out quite differently from what you perceived it to be?
Well, one fight, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I remember Ricky Burns against the Puerto Rican, was it Gonzalez? And I was ringside for that fight, and I had it quite close. And people were like, no fucking chance. There's no chance it's a close fight. Gonzalez is winning his fight clear at the park, and then obviously he quit. But if he actually, obviously, if you see different, it happens. You see different fights sometimes. If you sat ringside, you can see it totally different to ringside what you can see on the TV. For example, specifically that fight, I remember that Gonzalez landed or throwing a number of body shots against Burns, which he was blocking with his elbows. Burns has got quite long arms, and he was blocking. He's obviously he's got the high guard, but he's got the elbows tucked in, and he was blocking those shots. But if you look at it in the TV for different angles, it looks like those same punches actually landed. So it wasn't until I actually got home for the fight, because I was getting shit. David Hare was phoning me up, giving me shitloads, and that. I said, Burns lost that fight. He was fucking getting schooled, and that. I said, I never saw that. I really never saw that. But as I said, I had to go back. I got back late, like 2 a.m, and I stuck the fight on again and stuff. I said, okay, I can see it now why you think Gonzalez was pissing that fight out of the park. However, here's my take on it, because I've seen these punches getting blocked. So if we're scoring punches that get blocked, or we're scoring shots that we think we see on the TV that we think is actually landing. So, well, obviously there's fights that I watch back and stuff. That's purely for fun, like masochists like Duran against Moore or Chino against Broner, for example. But one fight that I always try to think of the top of my head what one it was again, actually. Closest fight it was. No, I was going to say Oscar against Trinidad, but it's been a while since I watched that fight, so it's probably the kind of bad, the bad suggestion. But no, see that fights like Leonard against Hagler, for example, I went back and watched that fight 4, 5, 6 times, and I always score it the same, because obviously it's always been a disputed scorecard that comes up. It's always been something I've been asked to talk about on the podcast. It's always been something, an article here and there and stuff. It's always kind of forced the kind of point to talk about it, but I just can't see anything past 150, 113 to Leonard. And I went back to it to actually kind of try and score additional rounds to Hagler, and he just can't, because there's no way Hagler won any of those first 4 rounds. So if Leonard wins the first 4 rounds, you can't then tell me he never won another 3. So that's the kind of only one I can think off the top of my head at the minute. There was there's one at the top. There's one on my tongue, but I can't remember the fucking name of it. I'll come back to me.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to bring up, Andy, the guys in the chat have mentioned it as well. Fat Dan obviously leaving ESPN. I don't know how I feel about this. I know I troll him when we're going about the fleece and all that, but I was listening usually the boxing rant comes out comes out after us, sorry, so I don't have the pleasure of listening to it before we go live. But I found myself agreeing with a few things, and Fat Dan being bunked out of ESPN is one of them. Fox B was saying there Fat Dan was rubbish, check his point scoring. I don't know, it's like he's been part of the furniture for so long, and I'm not really sure I'm happy about him going or leaving. I kind of liked him having around as that sort of jovial, big, fat fight figure at the time. You know, he was always hammering the buffet. He was getting his scores wrong. He was always trolling people. And I kind of liked him to a certain extent. And I'm having mixed feelings here. I'm finding myself a little bit sad that Dan's gone.
Well, I'm not, because I didn't really kind of. I mean, I'm blocked by him, so I didn't get to see any.
So am I.
Shit. What did you do? Like,
I can't remember. I think I disagreed with the way he saw a fight, and he just blocked me.
all right. Well, to be honest, unless you were actually looking for his stuff, i.e., type in ESPN, you probably find some, weekly update. But it wasn't a figure that I went and looked at, because one thing about, okay, we've all got our own biases, we've all got our own, fan. Well, bear it this way, we're not in the professional media and that, so we can say what the fuck we want or support who we want, right? Yeah. But he, on the other hand, has got a worldwide platform to millions of viewers and listeners and stuff, and he's got his biasm, so it's fair enough. The Americans have got that kind of tribalism thing about them as well, and their sports fans and that, especially the journalists. But I remember fucking getting ready to, lying in my hotel room in Germany for the Hay Klitschko fight, just kind of going through on Twitter and that, waiting for the time to get up to go and get the train to go to the stadium and stuff. And that guy is on Twitter. I kid you not, he was on Twitter every fucking half an hour, tweeting David Hay, don't pull out now, don't pull out now. Who fucking does that? What professional journalist actually tweets a fighter and fucking, says to them, don't pull out of this fight because obviously, okay, you had the problems previously trying to get the fight made. Okay, I get that. But you're a professional fucking hack. Who are you to be fucking doing that? And then the thing is, when David Hay then tries to get a hold of you in fucking America, what happens? You fucking pick up your flabby belly and run like fuck. And hold on your waistband, your jeans, so then they fall about your ankles, you fat fuck. So, look, at the end of the day is, I think after this thing said and done, about a few journalists losing their jobs and that. I mean, I seen there was a tweet came out there about Scottish newspapers begging us to go and buy them. I'm like, fuck off. You fucking full of shite and lies anyway. Well, fucking, I think it's good for us pack up your fish and chips. Fuck that pish. So I'm not really too bothered about Dan Raphael and that. Steve Kim, I hear's taken over. Is that right?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Again, he's okay. He's been running about the game a fair bit. So he's probably one of the kind of earlier guys who worked on the internet and that, kind of like the YouTube channels and stuff, and the blogs and the podcast and that. So he's actually worked himself up through the ranks and stuff. Feel like, and he's got to where he's got to. So he's grafted, shall I say? But again, I'm not a big fan of Steve Kim's either. And that he has got the access, and that I won't dispute it. But I just find him a bit of a grate, to be honest with you. It's just probably just his personality. I just kind of rubs him up the wrong way. He's happy to kind of self-face, he puts that kind of slanty eyes things, comments sometimes. It doesn't sit right with me. Okay, he's got Korean ancestry and stuff like that, but he's just like that fucking Haney situation. What the fuck's the point of coming out with that shit? But in the day, is what it is, I suppose. So, well done to Steve Kim. He gets a wee promotion, good money in that as well. So, I'll be a busy man. But as I say, I dare say there'll be a few journalists not losing their jobs over the next few weeks and months and stuff as we struggle to get the content out there, because it's just a podcast that are struggling as well, mate. But the main professionals are kind of struggling as well.
Absolutely, it's dry as a desert at the moment. Andy mentioned Devin Haney situation. I know Rob wants to go in on that later on when he comes on. We'll talk. Also, we'll have the second part of our fantasy tournament. Hopefully, the cruiserweights will be discussed tonight. Joe Kennedy's thrown in a few questions. Danny Young's thrown in questions as well, so we'll get to them. Have a guest coming on around 20 to 9, quarter to 9, something like that. Ozzy couldn't join us, unfortunately. If anybody in the chat wants to come on, give me a shout. It seems handy enough getting on this StreamYard. It's just a case of sending the link to you. So if you do want to come on, then let me know and we'll add you to the call. As for Fat Dan, yeah, Andy's right there. I can't really back anything up that I said because I never read his articles. I was blocked by him on Twitter, but it just made sense. Fat Dan, he works for ESPN. It's like it's reminding me of my own mortality. Fat Dan's beard's getting grey. He's been sacked by ESPN. It's just the time is moving on too quickly for me.
Steve, well, we've spoke about Fat Dan here for the last 5 minutes and stuff, and not one of us made a mention to that epic fleece. You know, is it going to be? Listen, hopefully Big Dan gets his place in the Hall of Fame in New York. And what would be great to see is fucking fleece getting put up there as well. Just kind of like get it on a kind of mannequin, stick it up. Well, I need a big mannequin. Actually, probably need an extension for that fucking wildebeest to get a fucking statue for him. But you could get that put up somewhere in the in the in the hall. There's rapping Rob on, so you can maybe get one at the Haney situation now.
Absolutely, rapping Rob. Kelly, how are you? How you sounding?
Evening, gentlemen. Can you hear
How
me?
are you, Rob? You okay?
Yeah, I'm maintaining. You know yourself, quarantine times and all that. It's fucking getting tougher every fucking minute, but hanging in there for the moment.
Good stuff. Yeah, we're just going to bring you straight in on the Devin Haney situation. For me personally, I wouldn't say I was offended by it, but then I don't get offended by anything. I was mentioning there, I was listening to the boxing rant earlier. I thought Vince made a good point, and a point that I thought to myself. Haney was possibly playing to the gallery. Was he talking to maybe Fred Hawthorne or one of them boys? Maybe he's egging himself on a little bit, talking to a particular crowd. I don't know. I'm not offended. The question I have, Rob, is should Eddie Hearn be letting the guys sort of just go freestyle here, or should Eddie be saying, look, from a commercial branding point of view, just reel it in a little bit, lads? That's the only thing I'm thinking. But how do you feel about Devin Haney's comments?
Well, first of all, evening, Ed. Evening, Omar.
Hi, Cooks.
Shinny had an interview with us this week, so he's probably due an IFL tomorrow. So hope the boys are all okay. No, look, the Devin Haney thing. Talking about Brandon, I mean Eddie Hearn basically was the first one to fucking name him as the heir to Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, I know. Already. I remember that.
Enough fucking pressure on the chap's shoulders. Look, there's extreme cases in boxing. For the most part, I made this point to somebody during the week. I can't remember what it is, but I think I've said it on here before as well. Fighters, for the most part, not rocket scientists. Most of them come from, very, very disadvantaged backgrounds. They're not the brains of Britain by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know Devin Haney his persona well enough to make a judgment on that, because I haven't really watched that many of his interviews. I don't really buy too much into that kind of locker room talk. I mean, like, for example, if I was an Irish guy and I'm fighting an English people, I'm nothing against English people, but if I was fighting one of them, I'd be calling him an English everything. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is, and he'd be calling me an Irish whatever. So, it's just the way it is. But, like, I don't want to kind of get into the situation where I'm excusing Devin Haney, because our listeners will then brand me as a race trader. There's too much of this kind of carry on that goes on in boxing at the moment. It's way too divided when it comes to sets of hands, and I think it was just an ill-judged comment that's after further fanning the flames and the aftermath of this Wilder Fury thing, where it's become more evident. What I'd say about it is, yeah, boxing fans, you can take Devin Haney to task, you can take B-Hop to task, but, like, where the fuck do you draw the line then? So you're mad at Devin Haney, but, like, you might love Jake LaMotta, or you might love Sugar Ray Robinson, or you might love Mike Tyson. Like, fighters have fucking... some of them are awful people. You know what I mean? People that we idolize, they're not, might not necessarily be awful people, but they've done awful things. So, Billy Joe Saunders winds me up from time to time. Broner, where it's just blatant, constantly flaunting out of and disrespecting people. I don't know if Haney's going to end up in that category. I doubt he will. I doubt he'll end up in the category that he puts himself in as the next Floyd Mayweather, like that picture that he put on Twitter. It's kind of old news now, isn't it? Somebody says something, Eddie gets in their ear, he comes out then now and he's fully committed to ending racism around the world and fully focused on being the next Floyd Mayweather, hence this split screen photo on my Twitter. I don't know what Haney's resume looks like at 135, but I know what Floyd's was like.
Shit. Come on.
He's fucking nowhere near it. And he has to beat the guys around him first. That's the other thing I would say about him. No problem with him being outspoken. He can say what he wants to. He might feel that in his heart that he beat Lomachenko. But for the moment, he has done nothing to put himself even in the same category for me as Gervonta Davis. Because at least Davis has won a couple of world titles against Pedraza, who was a live body. He, as Ozzy said on the pod one week, Devin Haney's an email champion. He's the 2-time Gmail fucking MSN Messenger Bebo page champion. So he should go and beat some fucking live bodies before he and then he can maybe have a deserving sense of arrogance. But that's really where I stand on it at the moment. I'm not going to fucking judge any fighters from the fucking moral high ground. Like, most of them are headbangers to begin with. And, it's kind of like, as I said, if you judge one fighter, where the fuck do you stop? Like, because fighters throughout history have done an array of fucked up shit. So I'd just like to see him beat somebody with a pulse. That'd be nice. Evening, Ed. How are you?
He summed it up well for me, Andy. I agree. Where does what about Terry otherwise, isn't it? I agree with everything Rob says. What about Teofimo Lopez? Actually, he's told Haney to shut the fuck up. Maybe he could do with listening to old Teofimo.
Yeah, I endorse everything Rob's saying. I've not listened to the boxing rant yet. I've actually downloaded it actually, so my iPod will catch it later. But I agree. There's no racist, man. It's whatever way people want to look at it. I was trolling basically saying, "Oh, I'm no racist." I meant you racist bitch. But I'm just at the fucking wind up and that. The thing that really pisses me off is like, I ain't a racist. I'm chasing greatness. That's a wee fucking rhyme for you and stuff like that. And he's got a picture of him next to Floyd. Stop fucking. They did the same with Broner and that as well because he did the shitty shoulder roll. Fucking Devin Haney is not a world champion. He's now calling himself a 2-time world champion. No wonder Teofimo Lopez is telling me to shut his fucking mouth. Right? He's fucking. At least Lopez won his title in convention fashion against, I suppose a respected champ of some sort. Right? He's beat Magdaleno. He beat Tatley, who was a long-standing European champ. Right? Fucking who the fuck's Devin Haney beat? 10 rounds with a washed-up former world champion Juan Carlos Burgos, for fuck's sake, right? I mean, just get fucking real. Until he fucking fights someone who is world-rated, at least, he is not world champion. As Rob says, he's Gmail fucking champ all the way fucking through. I can just imagine when Mauricio Silliman sent him that second email and that, he said, "Oh, you've been reinstated." What is he now? The fucking WBC Adobe Reader fucking PDF champion or something like that, man, for fuck's sake. Titles are won in the ring, right? And as Rob mentioned last week about the WBO belt, and that it was lightly regarded back in the day, which it was. But as Chris Eubank says, he likes to think that the guy who held that belt back in them days made that belt. So people like Eubank, who defended it numerous times, should have lost it. I'm trying to make an example here. Champs are made in the fucking ring. They do not get fucking FedEx titles or fucking Royal Mail belts and stuff like that, for fuck's sake. Titles are won and lost in the ring. And this is all because this champion, what do you call it again? What was the WBC status again? They came in, they gave Lomachenko some...
is it emeritus or something like
that? No, it was a franchise champion.
Franchise, yes.
Fucking, so they've created all this fucking bullshit themselves, right? As I say, we need to get the fights back to get this shit fucking sorted out. Haney's obviously looking for attention, trying to get the profile built up and that during these austere times. He's no money coming in and stuff. He's pissed off. He's probably want attention. How you go about doing it is, there's one way of doing it, but just doing shit like that, you rub some people up the wrong way, right? And you end up fucking perhaps alienating some people who were warming to you. I mean, Christ, I'm not a big Teofimo Lopez fan, and the shit he's been talking about Lomachenko at the end of the day, right? But I'm starting to warm him a little bit for fucking calling Haney out on his bullshit. At least Lopez is going to go in with Lomachenko and see where he's at. Fucking Haney's fucking standing there talking about it. Oh yeah, I'll fight Lomachenko. You ain't fought anybody close to Lomachenko, man. Fucking Loma would fucking slap your ass up and down the fucking place, right? Look at the fucking fighters he's beaten, tooled. Big guys, small guys. Fucking, look what he did to Walters. He had 3 fighters quit on him, right? Handled Campbell pretty well there as well. Who was the other one that he fucking schooled? Gary Russell. Probably considered, the top, I would say probably either the top 2 or the number 1 featherweight in the world at the minute, right? And Lomachenko handled him, even though the bullshit scorecards as well. What the fuck? You think Devin Haney's fucking going to go and do it to Gary Russell or fucking Lomachenko and stuff like that? Get that fucking grip, man.
And Lomachenko's a fucking featherweight as well, by the way.
Exactly. So Haney, man, as I say, what makes it worse is we've not got the fights happening, and the longer this shit goes on, you're like, when's it ever going to happen? Is it going to happen? Are they going to outgrow weight? I don't know. Is Lomachenko going to retire after Lopez? Who fucking knows, man? At this point, we can't even get fans into stadiums and stuff. So how can these fights get made if you can't get fans in to help pay the gates and pay costs and stuff like that? It just can't conceivably happen. So Haney just needs to shut the fuck up, man. Prove it in the ring when you get a chance and fight the real fucking fighters. These guys like, say, Antonio Moran and stuff like that. Okay, a tough Mexican, right? But that's what they are. They're tough. Mexicans are always tough and they always give a game fight. But you want to talk about Lomachenko, you want to talk about fucking Lopez and stuff like that, then fucking step up and fight them. Get Eddie Hearn on the fucking phone, you're a billionaire fucking promoter. He's the number one guy in town supposed to be. Get the fucking fight made. I mean, he was happy to make Lomachenko against Campbell. With Bob Arum. Even Eddie.
Baden in the tears is ahead of him for me. Ryan Garcia's last performance was pretty impressive, I thought. And Teofimo Lopez, like you said, definitely ahead of him. So Lopez, Tank, Lomachenko, and Ryan Garcia are all ahead of him in 135 for me. And he's talking this shit like it's just a joke. Like you said, he hasn't even won a fucking title. Let's see him in the ring. Now, no doubt about it, he has the potential. He has potential.
Absolutely.
We'll have to see it. Potential is one thing, and doing it is another thing.
I mean,
this is the thing, Andy. I want to see how good he is, because I remember on the way up, he was promoting his own shows. He was very young. He had a bit of buzz about him, and I respect him for that. He was trying to do things a bit differently. Showtime took an interest, and I thought, yeah, he's a decent prospect. He has a bit of speed about him. He looks good. But since he's signed up with Eddie, I can't really blame them. They've promoted him to the stratosphere, talking about Mayweather potential and all this type of stuff. I know they're only talking bullshit, and they've got to promote their guy, but I never looked at him in those early days, because he's had about 20-odd fights, hasn't he? And thought to myself, yeah, this kid's going to be the next big deal. I think he looks like a good fighter, but as you say, he's got to prove something in the ring first. There's another one who's circumventing the Mayweather. You know, Mayweather was doing the business in the ring. Broner looked at the party inside of Mayweather and adopted that. Haney's now trying to get the controversial shit talk inside of Mayweather. They're missing the fundamental basis of Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, he was a beast. Floyd was out fucking training when you were lying sleeping. You know, I mean, was it his last fight? I think it was his last fight. I was not impressed with him whatsoever. And I know he won handedly and stuff, but you know, you need more. You know, end of the day, Floyd coming up was sensational. Murray coming up was sensational. They changed their styles a little. Well, Floyd changed a little bit when his hands got brittle and he got bigger. So he went up in weight against the bigger guys, and obviously the hand issues and stuff like that. So he did adapt his style. When you see Haney kind of fight different styles and stuff, and as I say, he's 21 years old, and he's a two-time world champion by fucking default. I mean, and he's out there promoting himself as a world champion. The end of the fucking day is this, you know, you mentioned Hopkins, I'll never lose to a white boy. In the fucking day, Bernard Hopkins at that point was a bona fide legend. He can say what the fuck he wants, how he wants, and when he wants. Haney's a fucking wee virgin. You know, he's a YT who should be in the fucking background doing what he's told, shut the fuck up, learn your craft, and then when you start fucking winning big fights and earning the titles, and earning respect for your peers and the fans, stuff like that, then you can start with the shit talk. In the meantime, just shut the fuck up, dude.
Hopkins said that to Joe when they were face to face too.
Exactly, that was the main thing. He had the bottle to say it to his face.
You know, slap the Puerto Rican flag down and all. It was just one of those things that I wouldn't like. He probably genuinely thought like that. He did explain it to Bunce afterwards. Didn't he? He said like, well, if you live on my block, like you'd rather get beat up by Brother Jones than Brother Humperdinck.
Yeah, but he'd earned the right to smack talk, Rob. Like Andy said, he'd earned that right.
Yeah, like Andy said, Hopkins was a legend at that stage. He was a middleweight legend. By the time he had fought Joe Kazag, he moved up to 75 to fight Conor. He was an absolute legend of the middleweight era. Like so, yeah, Devin Haney not quite there yet, but he could turn out to be the goods. Who knows? I just like to see it first.
Absolutely. Just to remind the listeners, you are listening to episode 369 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. You can hear us all tonight, which is an absolute bonus. Andy's with me, Steve, Rapping Rob Kelly's here as well. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed to the iTunes feed, you might want to do that, because we've been dropping punches from the past episodes way back from season 1. Me, Andy, Dave Lee and Kurt Ward were doing those ones. A new one is dropping each Wednesday for you. So punches from the past episodes on the main iTunes feeds, not Patreon, every Wednesday. Speaking of which, Paul Massingham got in touch over on Facebook. He said, loving this punches from the past. Lewis versus Klitschko is a very good listen, passing the time well during lockdown. I would recommend, says Paul, Darren Barker's biography and also Jim Braddock's life story. Both were read in a week. Keep up the good work, guys. I know your list is stacked, for punches from the past, but if you get a chance, I'd love to hear Bruno versus McCall and a forgotten fight in Hay versus Carl Thompson. We'll certainly add those to the list and give them a good think about. Hay was not really forgotten. Hay versus Thompson, I suppose. That's when Hay burnt out, isn't it?
Aye, But Bruno McCall, man, I remember that. Oh, it was quite plodding, that, wasn't it? It was like, in the end, you were like, just stay on your feet, Frank. You'll win the fight. Just stay on your fucking feet. It was like he was gassed. It was I don't know, like the last 4 rounds of that fight, man.
It was
He
what
had
the
nothing
fight
left.
represented rather than the actual spectacle itself. Because we all wanted him to win that world title and that, yeah.
Fourth time asking or something, was it, no way?
Absolutely, it certainly was. I'm going to try and get our guest in shortly. Rob, I'll go to you with this question first of all. Sam Chatwin, I know I asked you last night, but I might as well ask you again. Naturally, we'll be able to hear you. If you had to be quarantined with a current boxer, who would you pick and why, Rob? And I'm going to pick Australian lovely Ebony Bridges over on Twitter. You'd risk coronavirus from Ebony if you want to go and give her a follow. She's quite worth it. So what do you reckon then, Rob? Quarantined with a current boxer, who would you pick and why?
Shannon Courtney. Hey, Rob.
It's got to be Obanov, hasn't it? Like, it's got to be Obanov, that blouse, baby. 14 days. She can't speak English. I can't speak Portuguese, but you know what I mean? That's probably the way I like it, to be honest. She shut the fuck up and leave me alone.
Right, Andy, I shall ask you the same question. I'm also going to bring up our guest as well. So if you get sick of things to say, you can maybe lead off into Eddie Cotton if you want, because I know he died. But if you just cover the thought for a second, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, so you want me to kind of like talk about what I would actually do in bed with him?
Well, whatever you want.
I said, I think I said it last night. Cecilia Brackhouse, just got that, that Colombia thing about her and that as well, so I think you kind of watch what I say, because the missus is like fucking 5 feet from me, so I better kind of keep it down a bit. Eddie Cotton, R.I.P. Obviously retired, well-known boxing ref. I think he was early 70s or whatever, and that sadly, died with the COVID-19. He's been in the hospital for like 2 weeks or something, and sadly passed away a couple of days ago. Involved in numerous world title fights. I think he kind of did a fair bit in Germany and that as well. Did a lot of Klitschko fights, Felix Stern fights and stuff. I don't know. I read something on Twitter that he was actually serving a city council member as well back in the early 80s or whatever it was, and he had a long history working in the New Jersey penal system as well, the boxing championships. So he certainly will be lost influence in society and stuff. I don't know if he's got any surviving family and stuff or anything like that, but I did notice Lou DiBella was tweeting out saying that definitely sad news. Another good man lost to COVID-19. As I say, he's one of the most well-known and respected refs in that, probably around about the sport at that time. So he is survived by his wife, Lou DiBella, saying here. Other fights that he'd worked as well was Riddick Bowe against Andrew Golota, the rematch. What a fucking fight to be a member of. Tyson Fury, Steve Cunningham. And the night Shannon Briggs won the lineal title for George Foreman. So, rest in peace to Eddie Cotton.
Absolutely, rest in peace. We're still trying to get our first guest on at the moment, so we shall move on swiftly. Back to you, Rob Kelly. Do you want to say anything about Eddie Cotton? I wasn't listening to Andy there, but I will listen back, Rob. But I'm assuming he mentioned Eddie's finest moment, which was 2002, Mike Tyson against Lennox Lewis.
Holy shit, yeah. I was only watching that last night, He'd already warned Lewis for holding after 2 rounds. I remember that at the time. So I remember talking with Manny about that before, but they brought Lewis purposely in a bit heavy to lean and lie on Tyson because they knew he was going to go. But it's amazing. After the first round, Manny says to Lennox Lewis, because Lennox was a bit frenzied in the first round, and to me it was kind of one of Tyson's last good pro rounds where he was trying to build off the jab. After the second round, he just fucking completely abandoned the jab and just winged it. He knew he was going to get beaten. He was on a hiding to nothing, and I think he was kind of actually waiting to get knocked out. But Manny just said to Lennox, if you just take a second and step back and look at this guy, you'll actually see how terrible he looks. Fucking brilliant bit of culture, as Lewis settled down after that, got on the jab, and as we know, completely dominated the fight. So I know I kind of going off the topic a little bit, but of course, rest in peace Eddie Cotton, and rest in peace anyone who's lost their life to this awful COVID. But yeah, he's definitely been involved in some fights. That fucking Riddick Bowe Aguilera rematch as well. How would you referee that? How the fuck?
Shotgun.
Yeah, exactly. You might be onto something there. Fucking
for the bleachers.
I actually know a Polish guy. Actually lives in Wexford and he's from Warsaw, and he said Galata, when they were kids, used to fucking drive around the estate and that and give them all tracksuits and stuff. He said they were living in a very, fairly poor spot. So I always had a lot of respect for him for that. But he said he just couldn't fucking get it together in the ring. He was a fucking banger, like, wasn't he? He's one of those fighters that you wonder what could have been at times, because he was basic enough, but he big punch, like, and he seemed tough enough that he could hang in there. Once he used to make the night against Tyson, like when he quit, he was like, "Nah, fuck this." Like in his corner, we're like, you better get off that corner and get out and fight him." And he was like, "Nope."
He should have been more what he achieved.
Big
A lot of
you wonder
fucking.
what he'd had a good coach maybe to keep him focused. He obviously had a self-destruct button that used to rear its head in the ring or all places, which is fucking the wrong place.
Do you have the head? Was it the Doofus he had in his corner? Sure, it was not Lou.
I thought it was Norman Stone, but it wasn't Norman Stone.
No, it was not Lou Dover, because did Lou see that the night after one of the fights? Did Lou Dover not get carried out in a stretcher after having a heart attack or something?
Something like that. Yeah, there was a fight in the ring after, wasn't it?
Aye, big chaos.
Oh, that was the first Bo Gallotta, wasn't he? Lou Dover's in trouble.
Yeah. Fucking Foreman's doing the SAS security detail for Jim Lampley at ringside and stuff like that. Don't do it, son. Don't do it.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. You don't want to go in there, son. They'll sort it out.
Fucking Lampley's like shaking like fucking. He's like, "George, thank you, George." Like, who's going to fuck with?
Is George one of the best fighters ever? That could have been the worst commentator of all time. He was fucking hopeless on those.
Oh, Lennox Lewis is bad, mate.
Lewis is bad, yeah.
Foreman read fights wrong, though, I thought, Rob. Foreman always read fights wrong. I was watching Klitschko against Monty Barrett the other day, and Klitschko was beating the piss out of Barrett for about 7 rounds. And Foreman's going, "He's going to be dangerous now. Klitschko better watch himself. This is where Monty Barrett going to come on." And all this type of stuff, and like landing shots for him that he wasn't even landing.
That's the thing with Hazim Rahman, Lewis, the rematch. He was like, "Rahman's going to get this any second." Bang, bang. Lewis, he's just fucking knocked out. And Trinidad Hopkins, for the whole fucking fight, he was like, Trinidad's about to pull this trigger. Like, you gotta fucking pull it soon. He's getting shit better of him in there.
He was the same, Andy, as well in Hopkins Trinidad, wasn't he?
Oh,
he kept saying he's going to get him, and in the end, Larry Merchant says, "Why won't you give Bernard Hopkins any credit, George? He's fighting a great fight."
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, Larry wasn't having that shit, was he?
Oh, but hey, we'll mention that one as well. But I'll need to mention the Hamed one. But yeah, against Trinidad and Hopkins, he had the hard on for Trinidad, didn't he? And he just like disregarded everything Hopkins was doing. Yeah, Trinidad, got to watch that left hook. Fucking Hopkins took that left hook out to play after like round 3 or something like that. But his greatest moment was dressing down Jim Lampley. We went fucking mental during the Barrera Hamed fight, and obviously Hamed's getting his fucking. He's getting the fucking piss beat out of him and stuff like that. Fucking Lampley pipes up, and what's it? Barrera. Allah is going to have to know how to spell Barrera, right? So fucking,
That's right.
Foreman took a fucking umbrage to this shit, man. He's like, "What the fuck are you saying? You can't say that. That's disgraceful." And Lampley, I can't remember what Lampley said again. He says, "I'm not being disrespectful, or whatever it was and stuff." I think I don't know if Lampley just got caught up in it and stuff like that, or just thought of this phrase to come out with in that, but it's a bit like the Haney situation in that as well. I'm not like a white boy beat me. It's just like something like along those lines and stuff like that. You'll offend a few, but others will just fucking laugh at it,
Talking of white boys beating people, Andy, we had a question in for you from Swaggy Taggy, a bit of a historical one, so feel free to go in or out of depth as much as you want. Swaggy said, off the back of the brief discussion about Tommy Burns a few weeks ago, the question has been there for a while of former champions that drew the colour line, particularly between the period that Jack Johnson lost the heavyweight title and Joe Louis first gained it, shall be recognised in history as the world's Caucasian champion, in the same way that there was a recognised world coloured champion during the days of the colour line in boxing. In fact, says Swaggy, it would seem there is already a precedent for this, as I have just discovered during Johnson's lengthy reign, they actually created a Caucasian heavyweight championship, which was apparently also awarded to Max Baer during Lewis's first reign as champ. Personally, I agree that I don't think it's fair that there isn't an asterisk against champions that never really fought all the best guys of their era because they refused to face black fighters, even if this does tarnish the likes of Dempsey and other recognised greats who drew the colour line after they became champ, which I believe was the case with Dempsey, but could be wrong. Now, you mentioned something to me, Andy. My limited knowledge also said this, that didn't Jack Johnson himself draw the colour line and didn't give the black fighters a shot, even though he himself was struggling in that respect?
Absolutely. It's just funny this question came up actually because I was reading some old articles stuff. You know, I'm doing this thing at the minute, and I came across an article from 1957, and I actually came across this saying, the white heavyweight title. I was, what the fuck's this? And it was for Jack Solomon, the old English promoter. Came out and said they wanted Dick Richardson against Willie Pastrano for the white heavyweight title back in '57. I was like, what the fuck's that? So I went away and checked it out. The guy's right. I mean, obviously, we'll mention the colour title first because the colour title, the coloured heavyweight title we'll mention anyway was the big prize for black fighters. I think Jack Johnson had won it as well. And when Johnson was champ, he never fought a black opponent. Never. He fought Joe Jeanette. I don't know how many times, maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8 times, whatever it was, before he was the real heavyweight champ. And Joe Jeanette actually came out on record as saying, basically saying he's drew the colour line. He says, no black fighter. Sorry, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, he drew the colour line on his own people, right? Now, I didn't want to be. You can't hold asterisks against it, for example, because the white title was never taken seriously. Right, I think it was held by 3 or 4 people back in like the early 1900s, or and stuff. And by the time Johnson became the man, by beating Tommy Burns, and that the title became vacant or defunct, we want to call it and stuff. But when Willard beat Johnson back in whatever it was, 16, whatever it was, no black fighter would fight for that belt again for over 20 years until Joe Louis beat Braddock. So the Bear situation, though, is for what I could see, is he wasn't awarded that belt. That was more along the lines of a publicity thing to try and force a rematch. And but Bear was kind of like, he wasn't really promoted as the white champ, and I think he'd been awarded that belt like the second last fight of his career or whatever it was, and that, so he was never really legitimately recognised as it. Now, for what I've seen for the Dick Richardson article for the Willie Pastrano fight back in '57, was that no sanction body or commission or board would take it seriously, and the British Board of Control refused to sanction it or even refused to recognise it. So hopefully I can answer that question. I don't think it should be asterisk against it because it says fighters, okay, they pulled the colour line back in them days, but Jack Johnson pulled the colour line as well. But he also beat great fighters before he became champion. At the same time, nowadays, you've got people fucking ducking people because, he doesn't bring enough money, or he's not got a belt, or nobody knows who he is, or he doesn't speak English, and all that sort of shit. So what kind of form of fucking, ducking is that? Okay, it's bad enough that I think you could hold asterisks against a few fighters for, like, say, no fighting each other and stuff, but just rounding it off, shall I say, is remember the WBC came out with another title back in 2004, right? They tried to create an all-African world title, which would be which would be here. Which
Prince Patel couldn't wait to fight for.
Oh, what? So this belt would have been open to all boxers of African descent for any country, as well as a boxer of any race living in Africa. So if you're a white man living in Africa, you're getting a shot at the all-African heavyweight title, So it was criticised by all and abandoned, and it was never going to happen and stuff. But now you've got all these fringe belts now, WBO African, all that shite and stuff like that, trans-African belts and all that sort of stuff. I did notice again some South African belts, trans-naval white championship titles and stuff like that. So that shit did go on and stuff, but I don't think we can hold asterisks against fighters for not fighting the great black fighters of the time. Again, if you look at Jack Dempsey's record, he pulled the colour line, but some people will disagree with what I'm going to say about Dempsey. He is a Hall of Famer, and if you look at some of the names on his record, I'm sure Tommy could back me up on this by saying this, that I think Dempsey is one of the fighters of all time who's got the most Hall of Famers on his resume. I need to double check that one, but I heard that off Tommy once before.
I'd love to some night for the crack bring me down to talk about Jack Dempsey, because you'll get every fucking training story, every conversation he had with his manager, every fucking round by round breakdown of the two Gene Tunney fights. So should try and get the outlet on some night for the cracker, and get him talking about the Roaring 20s.
Ask him that question, mate. How many Hall of Famers has he got on his resume? I think it'll be quite interesting to know.
I'm sure he'd be able to tell me anyway, because he's able to tell you about Gunboat Smith fucking dropping him and all sorts of carry on. So,
Gunboat Smith, there's a name you mentioned, Stephen. I was reading up that Gunboat Smith actually held the white heavyweight title as well.
I wanted to quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I know you mentioned Jem Roach fighting Tommy Burns there. Jem Roach, of course, from Wexford, the only Wexford man ever to challenge for. I think he's the only Irish man ever to challenge for the world heavyweight title. Could be wrong on that. So maybe one of the listeners could point us in the right direction, and maybe I'm missing an obvious one. But what allegedly happened, he got knocked out in the first round. What allegedly happened was he went to shake hands with Tommy Burns and wasn't paying attention to the old adage. The last time I saw a fair fight was in a fucking Western. When he went to shake hands, he got a box in the mouth and dropped the knocked out in the first round. That's legend now. I don't know. Obviously, there's fuck all footage from that time or whatever. But that's what the story has it. And my dad, who's good mates with Jem Roach's grandson, a fucking comedian this man was now, by the way. But when I was a kid, he actually gave me the only remaining copy of Jem Roach's record. So I have it somewhere. I'll try and dig it out.
That's him that fought Tommy Burns, eh?
Aye.
For Wexford.
Yep.
Rob, can I just say, whatever you've done, you're sounding really nice and loud and clear now. So
I don't know what I've done. Steve. I'm out in the field now, so maybe it's just maybe it's the 5G in the gaff. I don't know. You know what I mean?
He sounds great, Andy, doesn't he now?
He does. But no, hopefully I answered that actually. But I say the asterisks and stuff like that, I wouldn't go quite that far as I say, because we see all levels of ducking, even in this time. And you could also say as well, as at the end of the day, it was a publicity thing. It was all about, at the end of the day, it was created because no white man could beat Jack Johnson. And at the end of the day, the heavyweight title at the time was American. It was white. We all heard the J.L. Sullivan comments about, who'd never let the N-word beat him and all that sort of stuff, or, there's the lack courage and all that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, fucking Jack Johnson dominated every fucking white fighter. He laughed at them. He just take the piss out of them. Then obviously Joe Lewis came along 20 years later. They had to try and script him basically. Don't do this, don't do that, don't mess with white women, don't be seen to do this and stuff. Live like a white man, basically. I don't know if that's even a saying, but what I'm saying, give them this set of rules. Just pish. So it was clearly opportunistic promoters and managers basically trying to get money, trying to trade off a title belt that was fucking fake, and we see it every day. We see it not every day, but you know what I mean. We see it. We see WBA belts and stuff like that are fucking pish. People get to trade themselves off as world champion. That's what this is. It was a money-making exercise scheme for promoters, mainly for promoters and managers, because fighters weren't well paid back in the days, unless you were like the top 1%. So yeah, that's what it was. It was just a fucking money-making scheme, basically.
Absolutely, Rob. We've had a question coming for you over on Facebook from Graham Taylor. He wants to know your list of underrated fighters.
Do I not like orange?
Do I? Good old Graham. Regular listener Graham Taylor. Underrated fighters, Rob. You can pick the criteria, whatever suits.
Underrated fighters.
You better say Rocky Lockridge, by the way.
There's millions of underrated fighters. I fucking be here all night if I try to pick a fucking. What's the question?
Okay, give us 57.
What's the question? Who's an underrated fighter?
Yeah, I think he wants to know just guys who you thought were always underrated, maybe underappreciated, maybe didn't get the credit they deserved. I'm going to throw in a real left field one. I think the WBO featherweight reign of Stephen Luevano during the early 2000s maybe made him an underrated fighter.
I'll chuck in Prince Charles Williams in. There
you go. Lovely one. Great. There you go.
Guys like Cowie and Matthew Saad Muhammad probably get the plaudits because the cruiserweight division wasn't the glamour division. So there's a million fighters from the 80s don't get the credit. Like I'm on about Breland and Starling. Breland did get the credit, but Starling probably doesn't get the credit when they talk about great welterweights all the time. Like he's not. Time changes everything, and people's the longer you're a fan of the sport, things get skewed and stuff. But I'd say like in terms of underrated fighters. Don't know, man. Really, to be honest with you, I don't know. It's too. There's too many. I can't think of any off the top of my head. There. I leave that one to Andy. Actually, if he wants to jump in, I'll probably come back. I'm trying to see is there a coronavirus party going on in the field as well here. So I'm slightly distracted.
Right, I think we'll move on to one of the key points of the week. I'm still trying to get the guest on, but it's a bit of a mystery at the moment. So they'll just have to bear with us. If not, we'll get him on next week if we can. Let's go on to another question from Joe Kennedy. Let me see If I can just get it up here, I have put it on a banner, which is going up against the bottom of the screen. So we've done this before, Andy. We mentioned this off air. It was a couple of years ago. I seem to remember maybe Alex was around at one point whenever we were doing this last Create the Perfect Fighter. Joe Kennedy, as I say, has thrown it in. So he's gone for Holmes's jab, Frazier's left hook, Roberto Duran's inside work. Each facet of the perfect fighter, and we can. So let's have a look as it goes across the screen here. We've got the jab, we've got the uppercut, we've got the left hook, we've got the right hook or overhand right, I suppose you could say. Inside work, ring IQ, footwork, heart, chin, speed. So let's go through them one by one then, shall we, Andy? So first of all, what about jab? Larry Holmes is obviously the staple. Yeah. I'm going to go for Mikkel Kessler for jab, though.
Yeah, good jab, Mikkel. So you want to try and get some like kind of lower ranked names, or
just not necessarily lower ranked, but not the obvious ones. Like Joe's thrown in the likes. You got your Holmes, your Fraziers, you've got your Ali for movement. I was just trying to come up with some names. Like you could maybe throw in, say, Alexis Argello for jab, and maybe that would prompt someone to have a look at him because he had one of the all-time best jabs. World-class boxing.
I'll give you one for left field. Felix Sturm, left jab.
Yeah, excellent jab.
He pinged out. Well, I was going to say Corte actually as well, because the two of them pinged their jabs off Oscar's face. And I always remember Roy Jones. I forget what fight it was, but I can't remember the Sturm fight. He says that jab is killing him about Oscar, and Oscar lost that fight. In fact, he lost both fights in my opinion to Sturm and Corte, and got both decisions. But I'll go Sturm.
I'm going to go for Kessler. What do you reckon, Rapping Rob Kelly? We're putting together the perfect fighter. Then give us jab.
Larry Holmes. All day.
Aye. We're trying to get away from the obvious picks there, Rob. Give us another one. What about Kingpin Johnson?
Kingpin Johnson.
He had one hell of a jab, Yeah,
he wasn't bad. So I'm supposed to ignore the guys who are really good at the left jab and give you guys who are just okay.
I know it's a bit evil, but like I've gone for Kessler, Andy's gone for Sturm, so we're trying to avoid the obvious picks if you can.
I don't know, man. Just fucking killing me tonight, yeah.
Winky Wright, Kovalev, Mike McCallum's been thrown in.
I'd say Mike McCallum for the underappreciated fighter, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Take Ames has thrown in George Groves as a non-obvious pick. That's a good one. That's the type of ones we're looking for. Quality jab, Groves. Yep, absolutely. Right, okay.
Let's build a perfect imperfect fighter.
Yeah. For his haircut. His haircut can be that girl who had to have the weave removed.
His entrance. Groves to me, man. Groves' career took a fucking nosedive for me when he came in on the bus. What the fuck was the point of that? Like in front of 80,000 people. What was that about? Like the bus. What was the significance of the fucking? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, gone off on one.
He's going off on one. Right, let's move on next to the uppercut. Joe has chosen Mike Tyson. I'm going to go. I thought Lennox Lewis had an underrated uppercut. He used it quite well, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, against Shannon Briggs at times.
Ray Mercer, eh?
Right, yeah.
Tyson too. Hit him with about 100 uppercuts in that fight.
There we go. Unanimous decision on Lennox Lewis then. If everybody's in the chat wants to throw some in. Yeah, Hagler's jab, says Fox B. Golovkin as well. Winky Wright had an excellent southpaw jab from that. Yeah, that little shell defense. So left hook. So Joe Kennedy's gone for Joe Frazier, which is the obvious one. I'm going to go, Andy, for Felix Trinidad.
For the uppercut?
Left hook now. Left hook.
Oh, left hook.
Yeah.
Left hook. I'm going to go. It was obviously trying to kind of go away for the big names and that, but I'm going to go Mickey Ward. Okay, people will say he's a club fighter and stuff, but fuck me, man. If he uncorked that left hook anywhere in your body, liquefying the organs, by the way. I mean, fucking hell. I always go back to again. Gatti, man, looked like he was at sea after getting chinned in that ninth round with that left hook and got up to his fucking feet, and he's right back to the body again with it. So I'm going to go with Mickey Ward.
You gotta go right back down to the body.
Yeah.
The fucking the Sanchez one as well, where Roy Jones says, "Someone should pay me to watch this." Someone is paying you to watch this, Roy. Roy Jones not a bad show for left hook, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that he is. He was winging them away against the likes of Tony anyway. Oscar De La Hoya, another good shout from Kaiser Koba. Udosa says Ricky Hatton, absolutely. Jeff Lacey says Lee the Alcoholic Frodge. Well, it's a point. His left hook was one of the most feared things in boxing, to a point.
Jeff left hook lazy, and Tommy Hearns had a really underrated left hook. And I remember Leonard talking about it, that he used to throw a lead left hook that he couldn't deal with. And he was like, do you know how hard it is? You know yourself, if you've done any kind of training at all, most left hooks are set up off of either a touch upstairs or downstairs first, and you get the leverage that way, or you set it up with the jab and come off a right hander with it. But to lead with it is tough because you're leaving yourself fucking in a bad position if you miss.
Exactly, aye.
Yeah, so to have that talent, that was fucking serious left hook from Tommy Hearns as well.
Klitschko had a good move at times. He would throw the sort of double left jab, and then the third left jab would come round as a hook instead. I like the way he used to do that. And if we're going for body shots as well, you can left hook to head or body again. Mike McCallum, who's already been mentioned. Remember, he fought Michael Watson in 1990, it might have been, and he just left hooked him all night, stopping him in the 10th round. So good shouts for left hook.
Imperfect as well, as soon as we're going away from Michael Gomez had a brilliant left hook. Absolutely fucking cracking left hook.
Yeah, ask Alex Arthur about that one.
Yeah.
Fucking right.
Fuck me, man. He said it tattooed in his face for the fucking full fight.
What a fight that was. Unbelievable.
The left hook that derailed a career. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I've put right hook, but what I really mean is overhand right. So, I suppose you could go for Argello again there, Andy. Tommy Hearns as well. I'm going to go for Sonny Liston, I think. Sonny Liston.
I was going to say Wilder, but considering the excuses he's making recently and that, he's going to get kicked out in the street for that. So, right hand.
I think, Andy, one of the most famous right hands in recent heavyweight history. Go back to 1994. The right hand that changed the course of heavyweight careers. A second incarnation of a great heavyweight, losing every round against a steely southpaw, comes up with the big right hand. Big George himself.
Yeah,
he's getting battered by Michael Moore.
Big George. Oh, but if I'm going to say George for the straight right hand, I didn't pick one for the uppercut, so I'm going to pick Big George for the way he knocked out Jerry Cooney. See, he walked across the ring and just fucking blazed him with that. So I'm going to say, Big George. Go for Big George.
Riddick Bowles not a bad shout for the overhand right, by the way, guys. That fucking Big Daddy Bowles overhand right was fucking serious caliber.
Okay, let us move on. Just make a note of a few of these. Left hand MB. Yeah, you can have straight left hand as well if you want. Yamanaka. David Price says Paul 1-2-3. Yeah, Foreman, Udosa, we got him in the end. Manny Pacquiao, Matisse, Danny Garcia, good call on the left hook as well. Right, so we are on to inside work. Obviously, Duran would have been, he's one of the masters of the inside work, isn't he? I'm torn between two. I'm only going to say one in case I steal your thunder. I'm going to go for James Toney, Andy, on inside work, but I did have another person in mind, so let's see who you've got.
Yeah, that was the first one in my head, and that because obviously I go back to the Yarov fight and the fight against Iran Bartley. Again, Tony's career wasn't exactly fantastic to watch and stuff, but when he was in the mood, he was absolutely tremendous. Other than fighters, Julio Cesar Chavez will be good doing for him, but I'm going to say for pure and absolute demonic work rate, I'm going to go for the one and only Homicide Hank, Henry Armstrong.
Henry Armstrong, there you go. There's one from the past. Good shout.
I'm going to say I have to comment on Tony. If you look at Tony's work, there's a brilliant clip online of him showing Caleb Plant how to fight on the inside. And he's saying to him, when you take it back to the ropes, don't wrestle with anyone. Bump him with your shoulder and then throw it right after it. And he shows him just how to do it. And you've seen him do it so many times. Iron Barkley specifically, like trying to back him up to the ropes and get some moments of success. Bumps him off with the shoulder, straight right hand down the pipe, left hook to follow it. And just inside, he was evil. Like, you didn't want to be inside fighting James Toney because he had that old Archie Moore, Jersey Joe Walcott, Ezra Charles style where he's just hitting you from different angles. The punches are unorthodox. They're not straight punches. There's big swings, but he's accurate. He'd be a nightmare. He's hitting you with his head. Nightmare to fight on the inside. And speaking of fellas who will hit you with their head and kill you on the inside, have to say Andre Ward.
Yes, he was my other one, Rob. You got there. Yep.
Can't see. You do not want to fight Andre Ward on the inside.
I was going to leave him for IQ, but you're right.
Don't try to fight him on the inside. Too strong. He'll fucking hold you, drain the stamina out of you by holding your arms. Wrestle you. Go and try and wrestle him. Not happening.
I rewatched that Kovalev rematch last week or so, and he got not about dominated, but you see on the inside. I'll never forget it. There was a moment where they're kind of locked in kind of like an arm lock, and fucking they're kind of coming back, and fucking what do you call it? Ward's trying to Ward's shoveling kind of left uppercuts to the body. Then he just fucking moves slightly to the left hand side and digs a fucking left hook to the ribs. And Kovalev, you can see his expression just change, like, oh fuck, dude. And within a round, man, he was done.
He was draining him as well, like, wasn't he, holding him on the inside? And you know, Ward, the thing about Ward is as well, you can mention it with IQ, like, is he will play the dark arts with you, like, you know, Rodriguez, was it Delvin Rodriguez? Perfect example, like trying to manhandle him. I think it was what's the referee that refereed Wilder Fury 1?
Oh, Jack Reese.
Reese was refereeing it. He docked both of them a point, but what was like, you want to fucking try and roughhouse me? I roughhouse you. Here's a headbutt. Here's a low blow. Here's a fucking hold this wrestling on the inside, and I'll take these straight shots when you try and come on the outside. Like, so, I think Ward was one of the best in-fighters I've seen. He probably doesn't get the credit for it, but one of the best in-fighters in the modern era.
Okay, there's a fair few then. Let's have a look through the chat, see what the guys are saying. Take Ames is mentioning Julian Jackson for the right hand, absolutely. Jeff Fennick against Azuma Nelson says Gary Taylor for the inside game. Mickey Ward's getting a shout out for that as well. Andre Ward, BS says he was the one I was thinking of as well. Rob got him as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to Ring IQ then. I mean, there's the obvious ones, isn't there? Like some Mayweather, you don't get to his stage without having Ring IQ. One I'm going to say actually is Gennady Golovkin. I remember talking to Matthew Macklin. I know I've mentioned this on the pod before, but sure, what odds? And Macklin was just saying about, well, this could come under footwork actually. I'll just tell the story anyway. The way he moved you around the ring, you know, you were blowing, he had you working constantly. He didn't know which punch was coming next. Every time you thought you were in, you'd got away from him, he trapped you in a corner. So that's maybe a mixture between Ring IQ and footwork. So I'll come back to Ring IQ actually then, Andy. I'm caught between two minds. Who are you going to go for?
Well, I was going to just kind of follow what you're saying there. I mean, you can see with Golovkin just putting that educated pressure on, moving about the ring with it, throwing punches. Lomachenko does it as well. But I'm going to say you could mention Ali, Floyd, Hopkins. But I'm going to go, and the reason I'm going to say is because he changed his style as a fighter, became more exciting, and ended his rivalry with his biggest opponent or his biggest adversary, over his career. I'm going to say Juan Manuel Marquez for Ring IQ.
That's a good one. Excellent. Juan Manuel Marquez then. Go on, Rob. Who are you going for? I'm going to push Triple G to footwork. I have another Ring IQ. I have a Hardcore Helmets Ring IQ. But before I throw him in, Rob, you go for yours. And the main fields of Wexford there. Rob, you still with us? Maybe he's been taken down. Wrestle to the floor, Andy. Maybe someone's coughing on him as we speak.
He's probably just stepped up. Here we go. There's...
we've got two.
He's on twice now. Right, Rob.
Sorry, I'm back there. I had an issue with the headphones. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah. No,
so Ring IQ.
If you're talking Ring IQ, I mean, you'd be remiss. I know we're talking about not the perfect fighter, but you'd be remiss to not mention the perfect fighter who didn't just have the Ring IQ, but had all the other punches we mentioned as well. Ray Robinson. But just to give examples of Ring IQ and give it his credit, go and watch the Rocky Graziano knockout with him, and go watch the Randy Turpin finish, and go watch the Gene Fullmer one. Now, Manius, as I said before, broke down the Gene Fullmer one for me and had me acted out with him as Robinson while he's Gene Fullmer. But basically, Ray Robinson throws two right hands to the body in succession, and they call this punch the perfect knockout. It's Ray Robinson regaining the title, mid-50s, and or early 50s, I'm not sure, but he sets up the shot with two right hands to the body, and he feints like he's going to shoot the right again to the body, and Fulmer leans over, and just in a split second you can just see him twitch the arm to just make it look like he's going back downstairs again, and Fulmer just leans over, and in that split second, bang, left hook. And Fulmer famously woke up when Robinson was jumping around and said, what's he jumping around before the fight for? And his corner said, the fight's over, Gene. He just got knocked out. He never even saw the shot. Then you look at Rocky Graziano knockout. He danced him around the ring and moved him into a certain position and rehearsed the shot. And then the action continued, and he done it again. Brought him around, and when his back was trapped on the ropes, left hand right hook, and absolutely cleaned his clock. And against Randy Turpin, the referee Ruby Goldstein was giving him around. So Turpin was, we talk about fine margins all the time. Turpin was within one round from having 2 victories over what you would call a prime Sugar Ray Robinson, or just
Cut off in his prime there, Steve.
Cut off in his prime, absolutely. We seem to have lost Rob. We do have friend of the pod, Take Ames, jumping on though, to try and help steer the ship. How are you, Ames? Sounding okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to be here, guys.
Absolutely good to have you, sir. So you've been following along in the chat then, keeping an eye on things, going through the perfect fighter. You went for right hand Julian Jackson. Any other picks for the previous categories? They're just floating past on the screen now. Give you a chance to have a think. Jab, uppercut, left hook, inside work. Throw in any that you see fit.
Jab, I went with obviously George Groves, as you mentioned. I love the way George Groves would throw his jab out. He'd be clinical with it, be efficient with it. I love the way he used to just pour his hand out for it as well. I put in Golovkin. I like the way he kind of knocks on the door with his jab to enter, and then kind of pick apart his opponent. Ring IQ, I thought I'd put in maybe Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux was the master of being able to fight on his terms, get out, and then not get hit. And then, although it was being boring, he knew exactly what he was doing. So those are my picks for some of the options that that have been put out so far.
Excellent stuff. Stick with us as long as you want, Andy. So Ring IQ. Before we go on to footwork, I have a Ring IQ I'm going to throw in here. This is a hardcore helmet pick, but a Russian fighter from the 90s called Yuri Arbachaykov. I always like watching this guy. Excellent fight. He was WBC flyweight champion for about 10 defenses. He was Russian, but he couldn't turn pro in Russia because of, I don't know, it was the fall of the curtain or whatever. So he went to Japan and turned pro there instead. So I've got his box rec up just to remind me, because I wouldn't be following him too closely. 1990, he turned pro, and he retired in 1997 after he lost to a Thai guy, lost his title. 10 defenses. He had excellent ring IQ, Andy, this guy. He moved the head. He was so well schooled technically.
It's been a while since I watched him actually, but I do remember him very well chiseled, very well rounded. I can't remember, was he no Olympic champion as well at one point?
Yeah, I think he was in. Would it have been 88 or something?
88 would be so. Yeah, possibly.
He turned pro in 90, so I'd say that adds up.
It wouldn't be 84 because if he was Russian, then they wouldn't be going to LA. So that would be so probably. There's an interesting segue here. There's an interesting wee documentary. I think it's on Transworld Sport. And when he went to Japan, actually, I don't know if it's still the case these days and stuff, but foreigners were actually placed in certain areas. So, like, if you had like Russians and Europeans and stuff like that, they were all placed in some neighbourhood of Japan or wherever it was that he stayed and stuff. Wasn't it quite interesting? But not heard much about him these days, actually. But they don't go into politics or something.
I'm not sure, Andy. I'm really not. I can't even remember how I heard about him. I think he got put up for the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, and that was the first time I heard of him. I went to look at his fights, and I thought he was brilliant. He could punch too.
He could punch, but very, very good fighter. Again, it's just he goes under the radar because not many people kind of follow the wee guys, the flyweights and stuff like that. But he was a serious fighter back in the day.
He certainly was. Moving on to footwork then. I'm going to pick Golovkin for footwork there. As I said, he was moving Macklin around the ring. Who are you going for footwork, Andy?
Footwork, well, I was going to go for Prime Ali back in before his exile, but I'm actually going to use Ali again at some point. So I'll probably going to go for Lomachenko. I just think because what we see with him nowadays and that is quite unique. There's no other fighter like him at the minute for footwork. So I think obviously Duran and Leonard had fantastic footwork and stuff. I mean, Duran was he's underrated, but again we're trying to kind of get away from the biggish fighters and stuff like that. So I'm saying Loma, he's a fucking big fighter, but Golovkin, good foot movement. Floyd, obviously. Manny Pacquiao, I think, has got underrated foot movement as well, because for such a wee guy, you get into distance and stuff, like you had to be fucking quick with those feet. Who's the one I was watching? Again, as I said, Lomachenko, when I was watching Campbell, first round, he's having problems trying to get past Campbell's long reach. Campbell's hit him to the body. And finally, that Lomachenko decides that he's going to, the only way he can get into distance quickly it would be to shuffle the feet forward and double jab, and that's how he got his left hand into play. So yeah, I'm going to go Lomachenko.
Lovely job. Rob's back with us. Rob, who are you going for footwork?
Sorry, I just realised I wasn't on mute there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now again.
Oh yeah, sorry. Where did I cut off there? Because I was gone on a fucking 15-minute speech, man. By the end of it, I was like, they haven't stopped me yet. What's going on? Where did I get up to?
You've come back quite quiet, Rob. We can only just about hear you. You were okay before you left.
Sorry. How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you better now. I don't know where you were, to be honest, but we're on footwork anyway, or ring IQ as well. Might have been one you missed.
Well, I was on. Well, basically, I gave a fucking 10-minute breakdown on fucking Jake LaMotta, Rocky Graziano, and Randy Turpin stoppages by fucking, and I was like halfway across the listening, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I actually had said this is one of my favorite episodes ages because we were getting into real technical stuff. So I'm not going to bother repeating it, but basically, if you're looking for ring IQ, go for Ray Robinson, Rocky Graziano stoppages, Randy Turpin stoppages, and Gene Fulmer stoppages, and see guys setting shots up for the finish in unbelievable fashion. Against Turpin, he's given one round when he has a deep cut, and instead of knocking him out, he holds him up. So Goldstein will jump in and stop the fight rather than let him take a count and go back to the corner and have the fight stopped on cut. So an absolute genius in the ring. So he's about the best of them. B-Hop, again, Andy, you gave a good shout on ring IQ. Footwork, you'd have to say Sugar Ray Leonard. Although you look at Leonard's footwork now and you wonder how it would work, because a lot of his movement was always side to side. He had that kind of that style where he was bouncing on his toes and moving side to side. You don't see a lot of it now. You see fellas going back in straight lines. You're trying to roll shots or shoulder roll defenses. You never really see that kind of. And like Leonard used to move in both directions as well. Like, so he was kind of like a coursing here and there. Sometimes like trying to land on him. So I'd give it to him for footwork, even though we're not going for perfect fighters. So you could probably go with a diet Sugar Ray Leonard, maybe go Meldrick Taylor, or we go with Meldrick Taylor.
Yeah, talking of footwork, Rob mentioned something there that reminds me. Back in the day, I was sitting near the corner post while the mighty Ian Timms was boxing. I think it was against Michael Sweeney in the City West. And in the corner, Pascal Collins was doing Tims's corner. And one of the young corner charges shouts out, as they do, over to Timsy, left jab, and then straight back. And Pascal turns to the young corner guy and goes, no, not straight back, side to side. So just an interesting insight there. No straight backs, it's side to side movement. I've gone for footwork. Ames, who are you going for on the footwork department?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the names have been mentioned who obviously have brilliant footwork. And I know we're trying to steer away from some of the big names, but one that really comes to mind for me is Canelo Alvarez, especially when you look at how he's kind of evolved and improved his footwork. Like, for example, when he fought like Trout, Mayweather, especially Lara, he was really flat-footed. He was slow. He was plodding and ponderous. And now we've seen him grow into someone who's very much aware of the ring, very much aware of movements, and able to stalk, able to switch up his feet to move out the way of his opponents. And the way he's, especially in the second fight against Golovkin, the way he was able to move Golovkin around the ring, obviously by being much more front-footed, but I think he showed that his footwork has improved and is now up at a point where I think he can be considered as one of the people who's got some of the best footwork in the game at this point in time.
A few shouts out from the boys in the chat as well. Gary Taylor says Hector Camacho had brilliant footwork. He certainly did. On to Hart then, Andy. The classic ones, obviously the likes of Gatis and that. You could pick so many, couldn't you? I'm going to go for Eric Morales, which I know is a bit strange because towards the end of his career, obviously in that third Pacquiao fight, he didn't want any more, but it was a guy who had he'd gone to the well so many times. I sort of forgave him for that. Eric Morales for Hart is the man I'm going to go for, Andy.
Morales, I'm gonna go for Saad Muhammad. He was the Gatti of his time, and fighters like that are very few and far between. Think about it. The wars that he fought nowadays, man, they would not continue. Simply when imagine Richie Cage's fight happening nowadays, man. He'd be pulled out after the first knockdown. It was that savage. He got up, fucking battled on, and absolute warrior. So I'm going to go for absolute heart, Matthew Saad Muhammad.
Yeah, I'm ashamed to say, as you all know, regular listeners, Saad Muhammad is my favourite fighter of all time, and I didn't even think of him. He didn't even come to my mind. He's the embodiment of the boxer, like you say, showing heart, Andy, just getting up and constantly going. How could I forget about Saad? But I did.
Marciano as well. Remember, he
Against
was it
Walcott,
he got his nose literally split in two. It's basically hanging off his face, man. And to keep, see if I mean, I'm not the most handsome looking guy, right? Lies, but but you know what I'm saying? If that was me getting my nose split, I'd be like, "Fuck, call it off, dude! I need to go to the hospital. I need to get this fucking fixed." He's fighting for the heavyweight title. That's what makes him different compared to us, though.
Davey Wilson in the chat says Dan Raphael must have some heart. It's taken a pounding for about 40 years.
The cholesterol will be building up there, like. Oh.
Go ahead, Ames. You're going to jump in there?
Yeah, I think quite a few obvious mentions can be given to your Froch and your Gatty, but one I like to put forward for Hart is Amir Khan. Someone, I think Bunsey was talking about this in the week about Amir, and I kind of echo what he was saying. Amir's always, when he's got dropped, if he can, he'd always get up. He showed, I think it's come into question a little bit in his recent fight with Terence Crawford, but I think he's earned the right, at least throughout what he's shown in his career so far, especially in the Maidana fight where it was archetype Amir Khan, where you see everything, but you didn't see the knockdown because he was stuck in there, especially that 10th round where, for all intents and purposes, it looked like he was pretty much out on his feet, but somehow he's managed to stay up. Amir Khan through sheer grit.
Just muted yourself, mate.
Sorry, Amir Khan through sheer grit or stubbornness, or maybe at times ignorance, when maybe he should have taken a 10 count and cleared his thoughts. Always tried to stay up unless you'd Canelo'd him in that sense. So I put forward Amir Khan for Hart as an obvious pick.
I think that's a good pick. I've always said that Khan, you can't fault him. The guy's bottle. He gets knocked down, he gets back up again whenever he can. He's not short on balls. He showed against the Maidana fight. The guys in the chat are throwing some in here. Eddington King says some heart shown in those Marquez Vasquez fights. Yeah, talk about a trilogy. Go and watch Rafael Marquez against Israel Vasquez. There's some frigging fights, and Israel Vasquez against Oscar Larios as well. Quite a few fights involving them boys. Andy weren't dull.
Three times. He fought Vasquez fought Larios 3 times. I think he got knocked out in the first fight in like something like 90 seconds, and he fought. I say 3 fights with Marquez. The 4th fight was a fucking shambles. I mean, that cut, I mean, he had that much scar tissue over his left eye, Vasquez. See when that goes split, you could actually see his skull and his eye socket. It was fucking, it was disgusting. So I never liked to kind of put that fight out there, eh? So yeah, but Vasquez, I would agree with that one, and Marquez, obviously, as well. And
Rafael Marquez was Juan Manuel's brother, wasn't he?
Yep, that was right,
yeah. Jason Chukru's in the chat, everybody. Jason Chukru's in the chat. He has been assaulted. Unfortunately, 2 hours ago, he's been assaulted. 2 guys and 2 girls. A little bump on the head. Thoughts and prayers with Jason Chukwu. Hopefully he's okay. Rip trousers, rip blazer, but I'm intact with my money and my gear on me. Well, that's good news. Chukwu. Chukwu is okay, Rob. Chukwu is okay.
Did he keep his weed?
I think so. Anyway, we're on to... good question. What are we on to? Heart?
Chin.
We're on to chin. Oh, we're on to chin now. Have you done heart, Rob? We're going for all the body parts.
Come to liver, by the way. It's a toss-up between me and Rob. Who's got the best liver?
I'm not sure if Rob's there. One of the guys in the chat, I think it was Lady Alcoholic Froch, said we should do the worst body components. We'll maybe do that next week. The worst fighters, so Dave Allen and Tommy Coyle's ribs and whatnot.
For fuck's sake, man.
Rob's dropped off. Chin. Right on to chin then. Andy, we'll go with you first. Yeah, I'll tell you what, sword, man. Or sword for me.
Anytime I think about chins, I think about the old school. So I'm thinking like Basilio, LaMotta, Kid Gavilan,
Chavallo.
I was going to mention that, and Hagler, for example. But I'm going to go for Ali. The fucking bangers he fought over his career, and he fought Chavallo, he fought, the size of his hands, that Chavallo man's massive. He fought Liston twice, he's fucking fought Frazier 3 times, he fought Shaber's biggest puncher in history probably, Ken Norton 3 times, he could bang. Well. George Foreman banged him up for about 7 rounds and fucking smashed him up in 1 round. It's got to, I mean, even at his absolute worst against Berbick, he still hung. He still didn't get dropped. He still hung in there. He still covering up on the ropes. And I know it was sad to see, but there was nobody could take the punishment he could take, either on the chin or to the body, and still find a way to win the fight. So I'm going to say Muhammad Ali.
Chin, Rob. Also heart. You missed out on heart. So heart and chin, please.
Heart, I think Andy mentioned Marciano already, but you got to take anyone from that era that used to cut, like Graziano as well, Tony Zale, those guys for steel and balls and heart and courageousness. But Castillo, Jesus Christ, like, I know we're not going for obvious ones, but fuck me, like Castillo, Mickey Ward, Gaddy, heart displayed on a different level. Pazienza to come back from his injuries, fuck me, you got to give him, he's got a massive heart. You know, plenty of fighters. All fighters display hard to get in there in the first place, but some of them are just superb. On chins, I'm going to say my old friend James Toney again. Never stopped, I don't think. 70-odd fights or something like that. So he was granite, like, wasn't he? You could hit him with a fucking baseball bat, like you weren't knocking him out. Like, who else?
Oliver McCall is a good shout, isn't he?
Yeah, he was a bull, wasn't he? The atomic bull, Oliver McCall on the cocaine. Having a nervous breakdown in the ring. Have it. But sure, look. He's tough and strong, too big, too strong.
Maybe you, Rob, in Wexford Town, Saturday night, rolling the punches.
What now? Let's not worry about it.
Right, okay. Ames, you got a chin for us? Not Amir, maybe this time.
No, it can't be Amir this time. Although, no, I'm just kidding. So I have to go with, it's a toss-up between Froch and Golovkin. I got a lot of recency bias here. But I think what a fight that would have been to find out who are the chins in this kind of generation. But for me, I'll go with Froch on the basis that Golovkin's really done well to not get hit throughout his career. Say what you want about the opposition, maybe that's a reason as to why. But Froch kind of negated the need for defense because he could rely on what he had just below his bottom lip, which is his chin. And I think he got hit. He's been in so many wars. Obviously, Mikhail Kessler. He'd been in the George Groves wars as well. Froch got hit with things that would put other fighters down. He was able to come forward and come through it and then recover quite well and come back to win fights. If you say he won the first fight with Groves anyway. But I'll go with Carl Froch for a solid chin for this one for me.
Excellent, great shout. Last but by no means least, and I haven't been keeping account of anybody's picks either, by the way, so I'm not going to be able to come up with the ultimate fight. Either. No, it doesn't matter, Andy. We're just trying to kill the hours as best we can. An hour and a half down already. On to speed, finally, then. On to speed.
Well, unfortunately, I can't think like anybody apart from the big names, the big guys like Roy Jones, Ali in his pomp, Mike Tyson, for example, Sugar Ray Leonard. But I'm going to go for Manny Pacquiao because there was a period of time whereas he was just undeniably the fastest fucking fighter on planet Earth, faster than Floyd, in my opinion. Floyd was a quick counter puncher, but in terms of speed of attack, you know, he was something else. Overwhelmed you, you know, just non-stop punches. You know, obviously his left hand was the fastest shot to the target, and how he chinned Hatton, you know, just bang, it was just a fantastic left hand. But yeah, I'm going to say Pacquiao.
I've got a couple on my mind. I am going to go for Michael Nunn. And this always, Nunn's one of my favourite fighters, but this always sticks out to me on one of the old forums back in the day. A guy who had sparred Nunn as an amateur was talking about the sparring session, and he says, for the first few rounds, I just cannot describe how fast this guy was. He said he was just hitting me at will. I just couldn't get anywhere near him. Nunn is just the fastest fighter that I was ever in with, this fella was saying. And watching him in action in the ring, I could well believe that. So Michael Nunn is going to be my pick. But I have a little sideways pick wrapping Rob Kelly. From the 90s, featherweight, another hardcore helmet one from me. Eddie Hobson. Go and look this guy up on YouTube. Eddie Hobson. He could fairly move.
I've only ever seen highlights of him do that. I haven't ever seen his full fight. But I'd say Gary Russell Jr. is up there in terms of just pure hand speed. Fuck me, like unbelievable hand speed. A bit of a wanker, like, and a career underachiever, but Fucking his hand speed's frightening. Sugar and Leonard, obviously, ever see the footage of him in the Olympics, like where he's just fucking shoe shining someone's head, tattooing him with shots, like unbelievable speed, and kept it as he went up as well. To a degree, as he went up the weight, certainly kept it in middleweight when he reigned off a couple of famous combinations off Marvin Hagler's head after 5 years out of the ring. So, he had speed. Meldrick had absolutely phenomenal hand speed. The combinations that he hit Chavez with in the first half of that fight, absolutely unbelievable. Raining punches, rarely see it. Like, rarely see guys like that. So yeah, kind of those are the ones that stick out. And he said Tyson's a good shout for speed as well. Obviously Ali and Roy Jones, man. Like, you know, Roy Jones in the Olympics. Roy Jones' his early career, like middle. Roy Jones time with James Toney. Like, you know, Roy Jones is, you can't speak highly enough of him. Like, and even today, I think Eubank put up some footage on Twitter of them all on the speed bag doing the famous Roy Jones routine where they all three of them are on the speed bag at the same time, and his hands still look fast as fuck, man. You know what I mean, for an out fella. Like, so he was lightning. Like,
Ames, last but by no means least, for speed, who are you going for?
Yeah, again, I could probably go with Amir. It was absolutely ridiculous, the hand speed that Amir was putting out there coming off of the Olympics, especially in like the early parts of his career, the way he'd put his combinations on opponents. You'd think he'd have 2, 3, 4, 5 hands going on in there punching his opponents. But I'm actually going to echo Andy's choice here with Manny Pacquiao. And I'm going to add here that the fact that he's still one of the speediest boxers at his age against the competition he's been in against, is still able to be fast in and out using his combinations. I think it's incredible. And with Amir, with him, you can see he's visibly slowed. With Manny Pacquiao, he's slowed, but he's still fast at his age. So I'll go with Manny Pacquiao at this one.
Excellent shout for Manny Pacquiao. We have created our perfect boxers between us. Thank you to everybody in the chat who has been enjoying that as well. Joe Joyce getting thrown in for speed. A few lols from the boys. Bad crowd out there. Right. Yeah, next week I think we'll do the worst fighter attributes to make the worst fighter. The Reggie Strickland, the Eric Crumble of the boxing world. We'll come up with that next week. A few more questions before we get to Bellew of the Weeks and Out of Here for episode 369. We're still hanging in there. Rapping Rob Kelly, Ames, Andy, along with me, Steve, boys in the chat, Jason Chukwu. He's telling quite the tale. If you're over on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button.
Bullshit.
You might want to look, Andy, at the live chat during the week. Chukwu's telling us about this jacking. It's getting more emotional by the minute, this story.
What's happening? He got robbed or something like that?
Apparently so. I think blades were pulled. There were 4 people involved. Chukwu tried to throw a few hands.
Well,
He's got a bump on the head. And he put to sleep.
We are products of our environment, I suppose, so he needs to better himself and get out of there.
it gets rough in those swingers paddies, I heard.
Fight over some car keys.
Chuck with Paul fell asleep though.
Trying to get a better car, man. You fucked up. Don't be trying to upload that clip onto YouTube. So go relax.
Have to get some clips on here.
BS on the chat.
Any sympathy for Chukwu there, Ames?
Jason sells his arse on tick.
If he's awake, he can have some sympathy. If not, back to sleep.
Back to sleep. He's there. Hamed's there as well. Right, yeah, a few points of interest. First of all, Rapping Rob Kelly. Question for you came in from James Windsor over on patreon.com/boxing asylum. He says, Rob, how many times did you think Pernell Whitaker lost? I believe all his losses, bar Tito, were wins for him. Ramirez and Chavez were clear for him as well, says James.
I think, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Pernell lost to De La Hoya, close fight. Like, he probably wasn't as best on the.
He was a cokehead by that point, mate. Of course, he lost.
He was on the blow, but you know what I mean. But I didn't think he beat Oscar. But he gave him a night's work. Like, he gave him an education that night. I think Oscar learned a lot from that fight and became a better fighter after it. But yeah, you can argue. Yeah, Tito gave him his decisive loss, didn't he? Like, so. I think he lost. Did he lose one more after that? Maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, maybe one. I couldn't disagree with that. Maybe too much. I thought the De La Hoya fight was a close fight, but more like a clear winner in a close fight. You know, that way. So, but I'd have to watch that back. It's not a go-to fight for me, to be honest with you. De La Hoya Whitaker, like, I think I watched it after he passed, or bits of it, but I'd like to go back to it actually and take a closer look.
Closer look for Rob Kelly. I think we'll leave the cruiserweights. Maybe leave the cruiserweights till next week. Actually, we're motoring on quite well. It's 20-10. Got a few more bits and pieces to hoover up. So I think we'll leave the cruiserweights for next week. At least we'll have one thing to talk about anyway. Ames, we asked the boys earlier. Sam Chatwin wanted to know if you had to be quarantined with a current boxer, who would you pick and why? Quarantined with a current boxer, who would you pick and why?
I feel like I'm kind of pigeonholed because you guys have said I'll lose my manliness if I don't pick a female.
I was waiting for that one. I was going to pounce on that one.
No judgment, Ames. Come on, you can pick whoever you want.
Right. Okay. The right answer is Avril Matthew for me, because just
What's
Google
the wrong
Avril
answer
Matthew.
What's the wrong answer?
and then come back. But if it, pending, putting women aside and stuff, I'd love to spend some time with Mike Tyson. If I don't get, nothing happens. Smoking weed and talking. Yeah, the guy's got so much stories. The guy's had so much happen to him. You got however long this quarantine's for, you could learn so much from him as well. Life stories that Mike's done, the highs and lows and more highs. Mike was someone that I'd love to sit down and interview. And it's one of those things where you could sit. I get the feeling that you could sit and talk to Mike and you wouldn't need a certain topic. You wouldn't have to go, oh, you remember this fight? You remember that fight? Because there's so much outside of the ring with Mike Tyson you could delve in upon. So I'd love to get that opportunity to sit with Mike. So outside of Avril Matthew, it'd probably be Mike Tyson as the boxer I'd pick for quarantine.
Avril Matthew, eh? Avril Lavigne coming up on my search. Let's have a look at this Avril Matthew then, shall we?
He'd fuck you till you love it.
Yeah, man, I can see where he's coming from with Avril Matthew there, Rob.
Just put that up in the chat and let us see it.
No, I've done it on my laptop. I'm not that technically.
What's her name?
I'll put it in the chat. Avril, I'll put it in the chat one sec.
Sorry, I'd love to see the VHS. I was trying to find it everywhere on YouTube, and I cannot find it. There's a Sky broadcast with an interview with Adam Smith with Mike Tyson. Might have been before, it might have been after the Lewis fight or before the Lewis fight, but he's one-on-one with Tyson anyway. Tyson's behavior, super worried at the time, completely paranoid and going on these rants, and he goes to Adam Smith. What would Jesus say if he was here with me right now? Would Jesus sit down with me and smoke a joint with me? He goes to Adam Smith and he's waiting for a dead serious answer. Smith is looking at him, man. It's either Adam Smith or Ian Dark. Whoever it was, completely fucking shitted anyway. But that was the quote. What would Jesus would say if he was here right now? Would he sit down and smoke a joint with me? And just looks at him like, oh man, absolutely menacing. Like,
good shout on that one, Ames. By the way, I've just checked it. I remember her now actually at a weigh-in.
Remember, Ames, though, Tyson doesn't normally do interviews unless he fornicates.
Yeah, she's there. I see he's put her up there.
Unless you want to, you should stay quiet.
Steve, get the one at the weigh-in.
I'll have a look for it now. We've got one for you here, Andy. Actually, one of the boys in the chat has said, surprised Andy wouldn't want to be quarantined with AEB. Well, it's funny you should mention that, Andy, because we got called out by Jamal TMT over on Twitter. He said, at Steve Wellings, Bellew of the Week for that bitch-ass motherfucker Andy Patterson on Y'all's podcast. Fuck that fool. Always running his mouth on AB, 4-weight world champion. Respect my nigger, period. At Adrian Broner. Yo, Steve Wellings, you ignored me.
He's on the wind-up him.
That is a troll, man. Nobody messages me about Broner. The people who message me about Broner are all on the same side as what I'm on. Fuck that. Know what? Jesus Christ, man. Adrian Broner, listen, I'd end up stabbing him. I would, because he's got a tribe of kids. Imagine being in the house with him, a tribe of fucking kids, right? And he's going off on fucking Instagram. Oh, I'm retired. No, I'm not. I'm retired. I got all the money, bitches. I got all the slags. Shut the fuck up, man. Yeah, so I wish I'd seen that tweet so I could actually block the cunt. But no, unfortunately, everybody who messages me about fucking AB, baby, they're all in agreement. So you need to up your troll game. That's what it is.
Up your troll game. I want to do a few shout outs to things I've been watching during the week. Rummy's Corner. A few people have put me in contact. Well, not put me in contact, but told me about this guy's channel on, on YouTube, Rob. Might be worth you going and checking it out. He does a lot of sort of history of the heavyweights. And up this week, he put up a 1-hour interview he'd done with Emmanuel Stewart about 5 years before Emmanuel died. and he's reconditioned the audio over the phone and that. And Emmanuel goes through the heavyweights in history: Jack Dempsey, Marciano, Lewis, Ali, answering everything. It's really interesting. Rob Rummy's Corner. Go over and check it out. I would highly recommend it.
Saw that come up with suggestions actually, so I haven't got time to sit with it, but I'll definitely go check that out. Yeah, that'll be right up my street, like that one.
Also, Ames, I was just going to say, Andy, to Ames there about full boxing broadcast, something you put me onto. It appeared on my feed this week.
That's what I was going to say,
I was going through the Fernando Vargas versus Felix Trinidad card featuring Christy Martin, a bit of Ricardo Finito Lopez, and a bit of William Joppy. And I know you're a fan, Ames, of the old full boxing broadcasts.
You're on mute, mate.
Maybe he agrees. Do you like him, Andy? Did you watch him? You can't beat Vargas against Trinidad. Great fight.
You can't. But as I say, I've been looking through it, so I've actually been saving a few to my watch later list and stuff. I think because a few of them were actually merged British shows with American shows. I think Hatton was on one, and then obviously it had the back end. You had the Oscar fight on it as well. So there's a few I've got saved and stuff, so I need to go and check and see what ones I've got. Now, I haven't had a chance to look through it because it says the last full show I watched was Camacho against Edwards, Bozy Edwards, and it had Edwin Rosario beating Livingston Bramble on undercard. So that was the full card I've watched so far. But yeah, get on that YouTube channel because it says it's got like over. It's got videos like over an hour and a half long. You'll get full cards, HBO, Showtime, Sky, BT, old school fights and that as well. Like, get on it.
Get on it, indeed. Excuse me. The old voice is starting to go. I think we might have to finish up soon. Just before we do so, I was going to ask Ames this, but he seems to have disappeared. He's had a good run, though. Credit to him for coming on. Ben Thorns, Andy, he's talking about the old Triple G versus Canelo rematch. So he said, whenever anyone on the pod speaks about Triple G Canelo, it's basically become accepted that Triple G won the first fight and Canelo won the second fight. I ask that you and the boys watch that fight back. I've seen it 3 times now, says Ben Thorns, and I have Triple G winning by 2 points every time. It was another shite call in favour of the cash cow, but for some reason it's become accepted as a legitimate decision, probably because it was far less of a robbery than the first fight. Watch it back and decide again, says Ben Thorns. So I'm going to take his advice, Andy. We spoke about this before, haven't we? Picking a fight and then sort of dissecting it the week after if we become desperate for content. So if you want to respond to Ben's point there, I will watch the fight and report back next week.
Yeah, I've tried to do the same actually. I had Golovkin winning the first fight. The second fight was far closer. Both were good fights, by the way. And he's right. I think we should go back and watch them because obviously one was voted fight of the year. It was the second fight actually voted fight of the year. But yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go back and watch those fights. As I said, I thought Canelo just shaded the rematch. A draw, definitely.
Well, if you go back to our post fight on the first one, none of us had Canelo winning. We all had a 7-5 at least for Golovkin.
For the rematch?
No way. For the first fight. For the first
fight, right.
We all, nobody could, me and you said at the time, you cannot find 6 rounds for this fella. But I remember saying at the time, Canelo wins the rematch and he's going to win it in the center of the ring. And Golovkin left it too late. Like, he didn't get on the jab quick enough. He was, whatever it was, he was too tentative about committing in the first half of the fight. He was afraid of what was coming back. Canelo got his attention with the speed of the shots, and he was holding the center of the ring, and he was putting Golovkin on the back foot, making him uncomfortable. And I think Canelo was the clear winner in a close fight in that second one. And I've watched it recently, so I'll leave it to you to watch it and then see what you think next week. But
I'll get a couple of scorecards put out for that one. But yeah, I need to rewatch it again. As I say, I've rewatched usually against Bellew, Lomachenko, Campbell recently, kind of like recent memory fights and stuff, and it was good to go back and watch them to see how. Because it's the first time I had a chance to go back and watch it since I watched it live and done the podcast, so I never got a chance to really go back and watch it. So yeah, these two I'll need to go and watch. And obviously, me and Steve's working on our punches for the past episode for this Friday as well. So.
Absolutely. Ames, Triple G Canelo 2. As you dropped off there, Ben Thorns sent in a question saying he believes strongly that Triple G still won the second fight, and even though it's sort of common knowledge across the airwaves now that maybe Canelo got it. Is it a case, Ames? Do you think possibly that because Canelo did something completely different? Maybe people didn't expect him to stand as long as he did. He was getting credit for that, but I can't remember at the time how I had it scored. I thought that Canelo might have nicked it, but I'm going to go back, Ames, and rewatch that rematch. But I'm interested to hear, how you actually scored it.
Yeah, so I probably put as a disclaimer at the start to say that I'm a Golovkin fanboy. I'll say that straight out there. So
fair enough.
Take what you want from how I saw it. So the first fight, obviously, I saw Golovkin win, and I couldn't see a case for Canelo winning. And I've watched that fight multiple times, and I was really upset actually with the whole kind of. I think it was the first fight where Max Kellerman kind of comes out with the whole. The story of the fight was that Golovkin did not knock out Canelo. This, that, and the other to kind of almost overshadow the fact that Golovkin wasn't given the win. And obviously, this fight was scored a draw. I really didn't like that. But in terms of what you're saying about, what happened in the fight, it kind of was like a little bit of a switcheroo in that Canelo essentially done what Golovkin did to him in the second fight and just got the good side of the victory. And I didn't see Canelo, winning that fight. At most, I could probably have seen it as a draw, and that was being kind of generous, at least for my eyes. And I think it's really interesting that after the aftermath of the fight, if you see that fight both in favor of Golovkin, it's never really reflected in the kind of pound for pound rankings, because if you take that Canelo has 2 losses, but you then still put Canelo above Golovkin, I don't quite understand it. Yeah, fair enough, Golovkin hasn't done anything since, but it's a very strange dynamic in that people will see readily that Canelo's won those 2 fights, but then won't place Golovkin above him. But yeah, I saw Golovkin winning, and I think even if I still watch that fight again, I think I'd still see Golovkin winning. I'll admit that maybe I'm probably a little bit biased on this, and I'm looking at Golovkin and trying to score those points as such. But that's how I saw the fight, and and this is coming on to, I know it's not part of the point, but I'll add in here, I don't want to see a third fight at all, because
really,
can I see someone knocking out Canelo? Can I see Golovkin knocking out Canelo? No. Do I see Golovkin get the decision on the cards? No. So why would I want to see, apart from maybe in the sense that I know a fighter I like is going to get a payday, why else would I want to see him fight in a fight that I know he's going to lose?
Because you're a fan, and that's the reason why you didn't want to see it again.
Yeah, and as well as that, like, I think honestly, I can see an argument both ways, whatever. Like, you can make an argument for each fighter, but to me, I thought Canelo won it clearly enough. But I thought I said before that I thought he got old against Jacobs. His last great performance was Canelo won, where he was robbed of a just win. But the second fight, something was starting to go. Like, it was something that was, it was just starting to go a little bit. Like, you could see it when you watch it back. You see it. Like,
What did you think of the Derevyanchenko fight? Because I thought you could see there more clearly that he's lost a step. The hands are not really working like they should or used to work. And I know he laid a bit of a beating on Derevyanchenko, who might not even be the same fighter after it, but I just thought there was clear signs, especially, and I agree with Rob, I thought Jacobs maybe just shaded their fight, but I think the Derevyanchenko fight showed that there is clear signs now that he's diminished and he's slowing up.
I can definitely accept that, but then I also put part of it as being like, when you step up the levels, when you're fighting your Daniel Geels of the world and Matthew Macklin's, no disrespect to them, you're able to show much more of yourself because you're the dominant one. And as you get up higher up the ranks, you're fighting better quality fighters. And I think that kind of showed with Jacobs and Derevyanchenko as well. So I think they were tougher opposition in that sense. But then, yeah, I can definitely agree that Golovkin's definitely aged. He's definitely slowed down. But then again, this is an age-slowed fighter who absolutely mashed up Derevyanchenko's face. So I can't really measure where he's at. He's definitely, sure he's on the slide, but I just don't want to see that Canelo fight. I really don't.
The other thing as well is by the time we get back to normality, whenever it comes, and that, it might even be another year possibly, and he could be washed by then,
Yeah, like for me,
I think he gets stopped in the third fight.
Quite possibly. I would like to see Golovkin in just fun fights. I'd love to see him a fight against Eubank Jr. because I think it'd be absolute war, loads of fun. But for Canelo, for me, I'm not interested.
Thing is, though, Ames, I'm sure DAZN, they're pushing for it, aren't they? It's not contractual that Canelo has to take it, but they're going to look on their investment and say, what are we paying Golovkin here? $10-12 million, plus he has some kind of equity or whatever it is in the company. They're going to want a return on that because they bought him for that Canelo fight, nothing more, nothing less.
Canelo and Golovkin both. They paid a lot of money for him. I know Golovkin's faced a lesser position since that DAZN deal. But yeah, I suppose money-wise, they're the biggest names that they could face off against each other to bring the most eyes back into DAZN. So yeah, in that sort of sense, that fight makes perfect sense. But money is obviously the bottom line here. So yeah, it probably will get made, and yeah, Canelo might get the knockout, but it's not for me. Bearing that, though, like Andy says, you know what? When it comes down to the fight and the ring walks that happen, maybe I will end up tuning in just to watch my fighter finally fade away, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing it. I think Golovkin slipped, but as Ames mentioned there, I'm not sure how far he slipped, but by the time this comes around, the cards are definitely going to be stacked in Canelo's favour. Anyway, moving on from one fantasy fight to another, Andy. Ryan Deal says, fantasy fight time. You wait till you hear this one. I think you'd rather take swimming lessons off Michael Barrymore, Andy, than entertain this monstrosity.
No. Is that casual?
No, Ryan Deal ain't no casual. He's on the ball here. What about Avni Yildirim against Vinny the Doorman, Andy?
Fuck. Yeah, I'm going to go for Kadzidze. I actually read his police report, or whatever it was.
Hang on, let me stop you. Avni Yildirim against Vinny the Doorman.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Kadzidze. Sorry, Avni Yildirim against the Doorman.
Even worse.
Fucking hell. That's that old pony. I better put it to the side there. Here, you sit there now. Fucking hell. Well, Steve, you the one to pick Yildirim to fucking win the Super Series and stuff. So
yeah. I'll tell you what, someone's face is going to get punched in, aren't they? Now, you'd imagine Yildirim is probably slightly the better boxer. Vinny probably holds more power. I would... Yildirim on points, maybe?
I'm going to say Vinny because he's the bigger guy. Probably outwork him as well. And is he no more a middleweight, Yildirim?
What the fuck have I come back to?
Avni Yildirim against Vinny the Doorman, Rob.
We're scraping the barrel now, like... I mean, professional here to answer the question seriously, but I'm like, nah, fuck this shit.
COVID-19 questions there. Fucking hell.
Thanks, Ryan Deal, listener and Patreon subscriber. Holt said, I forgot Matty Askins retired. Don't blame him after the Okoli fight, but I'm sad as I felt he had a lot more to give. I was going to throw that one to Ozzy. Hopefully Ozzy will be back next Sunday.
Fuck me, man.
Coming up next Sunday then, Andy, we've got a few things on the agenda now. Then we've got the Triple G versus Canelo rematch to watch and report back on. We've got the Cruiserweights, which we will do next week because we're going on to Bellew of the Weeks now and out. Mihal Reedy, friend of the pod, has also sent in another round of WBA champion or serial killer. So that's something to look forward to next week. You'll have to get looking up on your WBA champions. And also I think we'll go with Lee Frotch's putting together the worst fighter as well. Jason Chucker is still in the chat there. He's not getting any better, old Jason, unfortunately. Anything to add in, boys, before we move on to Bellew of the Week? Speak now, episode 369.
Yeah, Jason.
Poor Chuck. Andy, how could you?
Like
for
this.
Fuck's sake. Andy, for fuck's sake, man. Poor Chuck, for fuck's sake, he's going to get knifed up, man. Shanked up in the big house, and you're fucking laughing. Fucking hell, man.
But Tom, this is Scotland, man. Scotland's the blade capital of the world.
That's true.
We take knives to gunfights, man. No other way around about.
Jason, we feel for you. Right, everybody, Bellew of the Week, episode 369, before we finish up for another week. I want to get your opinion briefly, Rob, actually, on this first Bellew Week nomination, because you weren't on when we discussed this at the beginning of the show. Suat has nominated Bellew of the Week for Fat Dan getting glassed and released from ESPN. They must have found the brown envelopes from a rival streaming network. Are you sad, Rob, about Fat Dan getting the can?
I don't give a shit, man, because I don't listen to a word Fat Dan has to say. Like, ever since he tried to discredit Rigondeaux and Ward in such a fucking biased fashion, him and Steve Kim, to say this kind of shit that he said about fighters over the years. Like, I always thought he was just a big hack. and he's proved that over and over. So I don't give a shit about what Dan Raphael says. I don't care what network he's on because I won't be watching any of it. So unless I unfortunately run into him on a broadcast or something like, but even like those when Coogan and all are interviewed, I don't fucking watch Dan Raphael interviews that often unless there's absolutely fuck all else to watch. Like I'm not going. It'll be down on the list. Put it that way. I wouldn't be breaking an appointment or anything, as Dave Chappelle said about meeting Michael Jackson. I would have to already be free.
There we are. Well, you're the week nomination for Dan. Also, Andy, we were speaking about this during the week. Guillermo Quitondo has nominated Sam Maxwell, whoops, boxer, punches himself while showing how to throw an uppercut. We could have put him in for uppercut in our fantasy fighter.
Oh man, he knocked himself out. Hey, that was one of my nominations actually. It was tremendous, you know. So he's basically showing us how to kind of. And I always hated the gym that you know the fucking like the heavy bag and that throw the uppercut, dude. What the fuck am I going to hit? You know, it's, you throw it and just just use your elbow to hit the bag and that. I says, well, fucking right, okay. But this guy, holy fuck, man, actually punched himself, took a knee instantly, and within minutes he's got a fucking black eye. And his mate saying, "How's it look?" Dude, ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Says that's in a bad way. Fuck. Even I showed it to the wife. She was pissing herself laughing. By the way,
early nomination, yeah. Sam Maxwell, absolutely. Danny Young has thrown one in the chat there. I haven't been watching Big Tone on the TV, but he says, Steve, you need to add Big Tony Bellew for Bellew of the Week for getting beaten up by 8 people when he is only allowed to defend himself. And then KO'd John Fashion. Who Ames, have you been watching anything of Tony in action on Channel 4?
No, I've not seen any of Tony on the TV at all. I've been leaving him alone.
About time somebody did. Just leave him alone. He's been nominated for his own award anyway. I tell you what, it might be the Fowler of the Week soon because we'll be coming to him later. He's starting to approach Tony levels.
Did I just hear that right? Did Tony Bellew fight John Fashanu on the SAS show? What the fuck? Will you leave him alone, John Fashanu? Don't be trying to hit him with the big elbow. Big Fash the bash. Fucking hell. What happened there?
No. Justin Fash liked it up the ass.
Will you stop tuning into Channel 4 and leave him alone? Stop turning it on.
You turn me on.
Leave alone. Available on 4 on demand if you want to catch up. But just leave him alone.
Just leave him alone. Sean Stevo and Terry Woodfine were getting stuck in on Clarissa Shields. Shields said, shut the fuck up writing to me. And a Muppet has strings, not a puppet, says Clarissa, because they were calling her a puppet. Nobody is controlling me, you stupid fool. Shawnee Stevo is confused. Is it not a puppet that has strings? Well, Clarissa says it's a Muppet, and that's good enough for me. She'll kick your ass if you're not careful. Here we go. Anthony Fowler getting stuck in on Devin Haney and his comments. Prime Tyke Myson has nominated Fowler. Trading Leather Boxing has nominated Devin Haney. Quite a few similar ones here. Andy, you've nominated a boxing scene here. Anthony Joshua would be willing to fight Tyson Fury behind closed doors. One thing I'll say about this, we've got the main man in the top corner here, Bean, looking over proceedings, and he was talking about possibly taking a fight to China. They're not one bit slow, them. They'd take a fight to Epstein's Island if it made any money. They are sounding the public out about these fights because they'll go to China in the drop of a hat. In fact, I would venture they'd probably prefer to go there because there'd be more money.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's open for business. I wouldn't believe anything they fucking Chinese say
or
anyway.
see other venue, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but there was talk about Joshua going to the Bird Nest Stadium in Beijing a couple of years back, possibly against that fucking that tall Chinese heavyweight.
Zhang Jilei.
Yeah, something along those lines. But I really don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, so who's going to fucking go to it? I mean, the Chinese can't afford fucking tickets to go to that shit. I mean, you ever seen some of the football games that go on over there? They played in fucking 100,000 seater stadiums with fucking 2,000 fans in it. Imagine me fucking Ching Chong a Chinaman turning up fucking like,
do you remember when Bob Arum was going to take over China? And he had an idea that they were all going to play like $1 each and he was going to get 4 million buys.
Zhu Siming. Fucking Zhu Shipming. I watched him against Shu Kimura the other night there, actually. He was shit. Absolute shit. Even though he was a 2-time gold medalist. That was another one, actually. Maybe put him in the list for next week. The worst fighters of all time. Xiao Zhiming.
Jumping in there, Rob? Nope. Thought he was going to go in on Zhu Shiming then. Not on my watch, everybody. Not on my watch. Anthony Fowler is having a go at people clapping for carers on Westminster Bridge. Talk about defeating the object, says Fowler. I think you mean defeating the purpose of his own tweet, says Joe Kennedy. A good one there. Cocaine Dawkins. What about this, the names? This is right up your street. Sky Sports Boxing have been having a whale of a time lately. Fantasy fight. Lomachenko versus Nassim Hamed in their primes. Who would win? I think they're trolling a bit here, aren't they, the boys?
So
Sky Sports.
I'm actually reading this late one that came in here. Sorry, mate. On you go.
No, it's all right, Andy. I was throwing one to Ames, actually. I was just referring to the fact that Lomachenko against Nassim Hamed, fantasy fight, in their primes, Ames. Who would win? Sky Sports are asking the big questions.
Ames is fighting with the mute button at the minute.
Right. Ames versus mute.
He's asking if he can hear him, but no, we can't, mate. You're on mute if you can hear us.
The curse of the old StreamYard. I'm bringing the technical issues over with me. Like a WBC champ. A quick one from you and that, Andy. Sky Sports are trying to get a few clicks, aren't they? Lomachenko, Nassim Hamed. That's not something we should be seriously talking about.
I know. These fantasy fights are fucking hard at the best of times and stuff, but I think Lomachenko has his way with me, to be honest with you. And I was never a big Nas fan. It's not purely based on his antics and stuff, but like it's everything else. The fundamentals. If you could take the power away from him, what would they have? And I think Lomachenko would have worked him out in the end anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great entertainer, great puncher, did everything right, but Lomachenko would have danced a merry dance around him.
He might have, but I tell you what, it would have been interesting.
If you could land.
Spectacle, man. What a build-up. That would be unbelievable. Like, so that would be... I'm not altogether, man. I'm not going to shit on Sky completely with that one. I think that's a good matchup. If you're going to match up fighters with a clash of styles alone, like, it's worth watching that one. Because you see how Lomachenko works out, fellas, like with slick styles. Linares, how would he do it with a guy that's so unorthodox? Would he struggle even? Like, would it look... And if, as Andy says, if Hamid can land on him, like, can he take it like a featherweight? So... It's not altogether a mismatch, like, I don't think.
Ames, you're back with us. I had to mute you because you were making a case for Nassim knocking out Loma early. Do explain.
Yeah, the Prince would have his way with Lomachenko, is how I'd see it. No, they've been doing this, haven't they? Quite a few outlets have been doing these fantasy fights, and there was one a couple of weeks back which was like egregious. It was someone who'd not done anything against one of the legends of the sport. I can't remember who it was. The names escape me, but for this fantasy fight, yeah, I'd go along with Lomachenko as well. Hamed at that highest level, when he fought Barrera, just took a bit of a schooling. And we were saying on not Punches the Past, but on the Patreon, Hamed's brother was in the crowd scouting out Barrera and Morales, wasn't he, in the first fight? And that report must have gone to Nassim Hamed, and Hamed must have just poo-pooed it, and obviously been dealing with
yeah, Nassim not listening. He's thinking about the carpets and stuff, and the ring walk. Maybe Ames was on his mind.
Exactly. So I think he would have taken to Lomachenko the same. Seen the Matrix, thought I could do that a bit better, and would have taken a schooling again.
Do you remember Ian Dart losing his fucking shit over his Halloween entrance with the graveyard at the back end of it and stuff? Who's he fighting? Was it Wayne McCullough? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Wayne McCullough. It was a fight in America anyway, and fucking Dart was raging because he had like the tombstones and the skeletons and all that sort of shit. Obviously, a bit of gimmick in that, but this was offensive to Ian Dart.
Yeah,
saying that though, like no one does entrances like Hamed anymore. Hamed's entrances are like iconic, and I don't think that's kind of followed through in this kind of.
Fury had a good go at the Wilder rematch coming out on the. And he even had women carrying him as well. Can you imagine? I suppose there's no fucking stramash about that,
Naz was consistent though, wasn't he? He did a good job each time. You got Javonta Davis has done a few good ones, but they need to build up a body of work, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's build up the body of the work for Belly of the Weeks, episode 369. Trading Leather Boxing has nominated Anthony Fowler, putting up a video of when he beat 5-0-3 Jay Byrne. To watch, this guy said this. Yes, Danny, it wasn't exactly Froch versus Kessler, Says Trading Leather Boxing. That probably was better than I read it out. Apologies for butchering that. Butchering this, Andy. Justice for Frez. It goes on.
Oh, yes.
Must be about 60 by now, but the WBA regular plight worsens. Aquendo wins Char case. This guy is trying to write as if this is a bad thing. What's going on?
Justice for Frez, mate. I mean, he's been out the ring now for how long now? 6 years since he fought Shagayev or whatever it was. And he is still in the running for a WBA a Panamanian world title fight. Right? This is incredible. So just no Suleiman, what do you call him? Mendoza. Just do him a favour. Email him a fucking title like fucking Suleiman did for fucking Haney. All right.
Could Devin Haney not just forward his on? You know the way you press that little arrow and it forwards things on.
As I say, you could become the fucking WBA PDF. Adobe Reader champion or something like that. I don't know. Or the WBA High Court champion. Just fucking give him something. He's not going to be fighting again anytime soon, for fuck's sake. He's shite as well.
Something will be happening though, because I've been reading a bit into that, and I think the other party that obviously Frez is in
Manager.
with, they've got 45 days to answer to Frez's complaint. So something hopefully will finally get resolved in the coming days.
Am I right in saying though this fight was actually with the purse bids previously, and then the purse bids wasn't even fulfilled because nobody fucking bid on it?
Andy. At least once, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But nobody bid on it, I don't think. Or no,
Trevor Bryan's floating about in the background as well, isn't he?
Then the Charles got them for drugs. The drug testing, they got shot as well. He got shot. He got shot in a Turkish kebab shop. I remember.
Fuck's sake.
He did. He fucking got shot in the stomach. Remember?
Bloody hell! Wasn't Teppo, was he? Do you remember him, Erkin Teppo?
Oh, Erkin
Teppo. That guy. Should get him in the mix.
Peds.
Right, Devin Haney makes a racist comment, says 6 niche 9, and Anthony fucking Wolverine Fowler comes out looking even worse. Absolute parody at this point. Fowler's been having an absolute mare, and fair play to O'Hara Davis. He's been doing some high quality trolling on Fowler as well, hasn't he? And the question has come up once again, which we all know the answer to. O'Hara Davis was thrown under the bus. If it was a more high-profile guy who had more earning potential, sold more tickets, was of more use, he wouldn't have been dealt with the way he was. And Davis has a bit of beef. He has a bit of grit between his teeth, Andy. And I think he's got every right to be honest.
Yeah, as I say, it was at that point he'd been used up by Eddie, didn't he? I mean, he mouthed off for the Taylor fight, got handled, and then he came out with the Sun comments, and then basically kind of cast aside of used to no cunt. Yeah, MTK I suppose will look after him, but as for like say where he's going to go in that European level would be very, very generous if you're saying that. Like,
you can't put on a scale what people are saying. Some people are coming off with things about areas, about race, about this, that, and the other. You can't put it on a sliding scale, really. But it's not. You can't take the moral high ground here and not take the moral high ground there. So I think O'Hara Davis was wrongly done to, and I like the way he's been trolling Anthony Fowler. So
Anthony Fowler's coming up one of my nominations, but at the end of the day, boxing's full of hypocrites. End of the day, we've all done it. We've all done it.
Ourselves included. Exactly. Kevin Chase nominated Devin Haney. Twat trying to be like B-Hop. We all know how that ended up. Amir Khan, our hero, # Muhammad Ali. He then put up a picture of Ali. Hitting someone. I haven't got quite the screenshot, but I think Khan's hitting Devin Alexander. Stephen at Huggy963 nominating that one. What else have we got? I think that is all the ones that I have. Yeah, Fowler. He's going to be my pick, but nominations, Andy, who you got?
Oh, wait a minute, I've got a good one for Fowler. But say Sam Maxwell, as I say, Devin Haney for that wee rap lyric, Rob. I thought you might want to maybe get this copyrighted. I am not a racist. I will never be racist. I'm chasing greatness. Undefeated. Obviously, as well, he tweeted it as well. He says, I've just had a very, so this is Devin Haney, sorry, I've had a very positive conversation with Mauricio Suleiman, president of the WBC, and confirmed to him directly my commitment to be a role model and absolutely rejection of discrimination of any kind. Well, you just had your balls felt, wee man, but you should have stayed true to your word and say, look, I wasn't being racist. So you fucking missed a trick there. Rick Glazer, by the way, he's obviously happy as fuck that Darren Raphael has been fired or sacked, and he's now writing for boxingscene.com. I just found this out literally 5 minutes ago that Fat Dan's at boxingscene.com now, right? So it's interesting. Steve Kim, who worked for Boxing Scene, goes to ESPN. Fat Dan goes for ESPN down to Boxing Scene. So interesting development there. But anyway, so he's happy that the guy who's outgrown his own skeleton is working for a website now, right? So this guy, Fat Stevie De La Glace, right, booking agent, no many followers on Twitter and stuff like that, fucking sends a screenshot of fucking Rick Glazer's tax returns for the IRS for the last 6 years. holy fuck. So apparently, Rick Glazer, who likes to glass people, is in the hawk to the IRS to the principal sum of $138,734.34 to the IRS since 2004 to 2009. So Richard S. Glazier got glassed off Fat Stevie De La Glace on Twitter. My final nomination goes to Anthony Fowler. This one goes sent in for Ricky Gravel, Steve. I think you got added in there. I don't know if you spotted it yet. But it looks like a Facebook. No, it's either a Facebook chat or a Twitter chat, DM chat, but it looks at it. So the adventures of Super Stefan. So I think Stefan's a young lad and he's got some sort of disability or something like that. Sorry, I didn't know what his situation is. Apologies to anybody who knows him and stuff. I'm not giving him the full due and attention, but it's just been sent to me. So it reads, someone's notifying the family basically on Twitter as to what's happened here. So it goes like this. Hi, Peter, Lisa and Stefan. First of all, I'd like to say I'm so glad your amazing son responds to the treatment you have been managed to get him. I became aware of Stefan throughout Twitter and I wanted to bring this to your attention. There's a British boxer using your son's video to promote his CBD oil business. If you've granted him permission, that's okay. But, so I need to bring up the next screen here, but if you haven't, then I think what he is saying about the CBD oil he is selling over here is extremely dangerous and misleading. Hope your little warrior keeps fighting. Was a heart-wrenching video to watch. All the best. Keep fighting. So the family gets back in response. This is obviously talking about Anthony Fowler here. The family gets back in response to him and says, thanks for the heads up. No one has permission to use our video, and I'm particularly irked that people continue to use it to push CBD products when the video is actually highlighting THC.
Yeah, THC, yeah. The stuff on the leaves, isn't it?
So, Anthony Fowler again, man.
That's a bad one, that.
It's a bad one. And people are saying in the chat at the minute we should be renaming this from Bellew the week to the Fowler of the week, because I don't know if does this no stem back to a couple of weeks ago when Fowler got called out on this. So this must be the family getting back to it. But yeah, Fowler definitely. But so that's my nominations, mate.
Yeah, something I was going to just throw in there while it was in my head, not Fowler related, but Boxing Scene they're quite on the scene now. They're the major players, you'd say, and I noticed Trix Dixon and Ron Lewis are both writing for them now. They got took over, didn't they, by CBS, the American broadcaster, last summer. So they're obviously pumping money into it and putting out content and getting some quite high-profile writers. So Dan Raphael going there, might not be as shocking as you think, because I think CBS is Showtime, isn't it? So you can see Raphael maybe on a big whack. I think Boxing Scene, a website that's going places. Anyway, Rapping Rob Kelly, do you have any nominations?
Well, my little one doesn't want me to do the nominations. Want to watch movies with me. I'll be in there in a minute. Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to nominate Malinazi. He did a IFL this week where he surprised. Mentioned Conor McGregor again, and he was dropping all kinds of retard bombs and everything. All he want to watch himself, like, he's already out of favour because of the Wilder stuff. Wilder got him kicked off the broadcast, and he's saying some wild stuff like on camera every time he gets the opportunity. So he want to watch himself. It was just a little bit wild. Like, did you want to get over it? Like, as McGregor said to him, get over it. You want to get over it. Like, he's still talking about Conor McGregor's sparring session 2 years later. Like, and you know what came up in the suggested videos underneath it? 2 years ago, video. Paulie Malignaggi keeps it real on Conor McGregor. Paulie Malignaggi goes in raw on Conor McGregor. All these videos from 2 years ago. And he's still on about it now. Like, yeah, fucking let it go. Like, whatever the fuck happened, nobody gives a shit about it. You're the one that keeps talking about it. Absolute banger, like Malignaggi. I mean, we need him in the sport because he's brilliant at calling the fights, but this fucking behaviour with the McGregor thing, like, it's beyond the joke at this stage. Like, MMA fans are so stupid. It's stupid. And he has no balls. Like, he's like a psychotic fucking stalker. Like, you gotta relax. Like,
He ain't got no balls, Connor. He got no balls.
This is going to be Malignaggi's legacy if he's not careful.
Yeah,
I know, this is it. Like, you forget he was a fucking 2-time world champion. Wow.
decent fighter too.
He was held in there against Cotto, broken jaw for 12 rounds. I had a lot of respect for Malignaggi then. He's a strange guy. I don't like the spitting. I wish he'd cut out the spitting.
Yeah, you want to relax. Like, he's going to end up fucking losing his contract, like, from doing some stupid shit outside the ring.
See, bonus though. See, bonus. He doesn't need to worry about his contract. And at the end of the day, he's at the end of the day, he's the type of guy who gets banned. Was it Deontay Wilder trying to ban him for a broadcast or something like that? I can't mind.
After the rematch for
Because he wasn't towing the party line, because he's a guy who's actually made it before he got there and actually can say what he wants, because he's not actually kind of dependent on that gig. So he gives his actual honest opinion like everybody else. So I've got a lot of time for Paulie actually. But he needs to let that kind of shit go. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
As a guy who calls the sport, he's second to none. Like, he's probably one of the best out there. Like, but he's fucking, what is he on about? We shut up about that. Like, we get it, right? McGregor didn't beat you in the spy, right? Fucking let it go. Fucking hell, man. Nobody believes it anyway. Like, what the fuck the fact that he's trying to convince people so hard that all this time later is lead me towards the stage that maybe he fucking had trouble figuring it out and got clocked a couple of times, and his pride is super dented, like, because he will not shut the fuck up. Conor McGregor. Oh.
Right, yeah, talking of shutting the fuck up, we're going to have to get out of here soon. At least 2 panel members are dying for a piss. I can confirm at least 2 panel members are dying for a piss. I'm not going to say which 2.
yeah, I'm one of them.
I've got a long nomination as well.
Oh, you cunt.
It's one Steve missed out from a couple of weeks back, and I think it deserves reading.
Go on.
Am I right to say it, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right, cool. So this was one of the comments we got.
I'm going for a piss of a pack.
No worries. It's one of the comments we got from Boxing News TV on Wilder is not the biggest puncher of all time, Floyd Mayweather Sr. So Elias Farias wrote, "No disrespect to the many gifted and very knowledgeable boxing fans out there. Deontay Wilder cannot be beat legitimately. Deontay Wilder was cheated. Deontay Wilder is the greatest boxer of all time. Deontay Wilder is the hardest hitting boxer of all time. Deontay Wilder had to be stopped before he proved against all odds just that. Deontay Wilder shocked the jealous boxing community and establishment so much they were forced to collaborate with each other simply to keep from being shown how insignificant they are in comparison. Holding back a talented genius is the one thing our country does for free. All our country, the citizens, the elected officials, the selected politicians, why, you might ask? Fear, that's the answer, fear. Max Kellerman, Jim Lampley, Larry Merchant, all of the major sports-related corporate interests, cowards, afraid of Deontay Wilder doing good. They don't want you to do good, either simply out of being craven, dastard, recreant poltroons." This is Joseph Ajay language here. Teddy Atlas was acting like he wanted to fight Deontay Wilder at a press conference. Larry Merchant said if he was 50 years younger, he would kick Floyd Mayweather's backside. See what I mean? Deontay Wilder is a national God-sent treasure. And then in a shorter nomination from a couple of weeks back, Tyson Fury, in response to Drew McIntyre calling him out in the WWE after his WrestleMania victory, Tyson Fury said, "First, I say congratulations and what a fantastic job. Secondly, I accept his challenge anytime, any place, anywhere." Linda Friday, in response to that, put, "Please hospitalize him. Stay safe, champion." So those are my 2 nominations from a couple of weeks back that I put forward for this week.
I'll tell you what, I thought you should have been finished by the time I got back there. I thought it was never going to finish, so the bubble's nice and frothy there, you know.
We thought we were going to hear you, Andy, like that scene in Naked Gun when he's pissing with the mic.
No, I was thinking with Steve Stiffer and American Pie. I can taste the bubbles. Oh, it was tremendous, that, by the way. Oh.
Some great nominations this week. Absolutely brilliant. Right. It's only one for me. I'm not swayed by the Deontay Wilder guy, unfortunately, although it was very eloquently read out. I'm going to go for Fowles. It has to be Anthony Fowler for me, Andy.
Yeah, it's between him and Rick Glazier for me, actually. Imagine getting your tax returns put out on Twitter like that and absolutely fucking owned. We think, in fact, there's also bits here about fucking tax payments and stuff, like interest payments. But yeah, I think Tony Fowler as well. He's the only guy he's the only boxer on Twitter I've actually got blocked. So anytime I need to just go and view his comments, I just need to unblock him and go and see it because he just is an annoying subhuman species. You know, this is the guy who was like charging people for fucking autographs before he went to the Olympics.
Retweets.
He got iced in the Olympics, which was fantastic to see. Boxing Twitter was united. Scott Fitz does the business as well. We're all fucking rejoicing. But to go on here like fucking, CPD cures, fucking AIDS, fucking dementia, every other illness under the sun, Tony Fowler will fucking try and sell it. And if you look at his actual Twitter now, so it's got Rio 2016 Olympian, Commonwealth gold medalist. Should have been disqualified by the way. He should actually be a silver medalist. Professional boxer 12-1, 9 kilos with matchroom boxing. USC code Fowler, 50% discount CPD. If you want CPD, gentlemen, go and see Nightingale on Twitter. I'll set you up. Far cheaper than Tony Fowler, and probably better stuff as well.
Lee, the alcoholic Frotch sums it up quite well. Tony Fowles for multiple offences. I think that's quite a good one. So it's 2 for Fowles then at the moment. Ames, who are you going for?
As much as I do want to go for Elias Farias, I'll round it up to 3 for Anthony Fowler. Did he also do that NHS one from earlier you read out? Was that Fowler as well?
Yes, that was Fowler as well, yeah.
Yeah, coupled with that and the THC thing, I think it's been a poor week for Anthony. What with quarantine and now a potential Belly of the Week award. So I'll go with Anthony Fowler as well.
Absolutely a poor week or a strong week, some would say maybe, if he's going to win Belly of the Week. Absolutely. Can add that to his Twitter profile. Your pick is irrelevant, Rob. Don't let that hold you back. Who are you going for?
It's going to be Malnaji this week. Can't top that. Like, you want to just let that go. How is he still going on about this? Like, nobody's pulled him up, and they're all having a laugh at him. Like, everyone that asks him about it is just setting him up to go on a 15-minute Conor McGregor rant. Like, so Malnaji this week, he deserves it. Like, but Fowler, like, we're gonna have to, as you said, we're gonna have to have an interim Fowler of the week as well. Like, at this stage, because he's the sequel. Like, isn't he? At this stage,
he's like a newer, fresher version of Bellew, isn't he?
Yeah, not as good either. So, won't have half the career that Bellew's had. Like, whatever you say about him, but and there's a lot. Just leave him alone. But just leave Fowler alone, and give it to Malnaji this week.
Well, for Malnaji, we're going to give it to Fowler. Why not? CBD kidder. Good old Fowler getting the Belly of the Week for episode 369. Well done. We shall get out of here. Solid 2 hours, 20 minutes there, Andy. No fucks given. No messing about from the boys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we started off talking about, washing down pipes with jets, with pressure washers and
mold in the bathroom.
And we're talking about, who we want to spend their quarantine time with and stuff like that. Oh my fuck! If we can manage to keep this up before the live fight happens, by the way, we'll be doing something amazing. By the way, I swear to God.
Absolutely. Thanks to Andy for coming on. Thanks for rapping Rob Kelly. Special thanks to Take Ames as well. He's a good guy, always in the chat, always dipping in and out to the WhatsApps. Do you want to tell the boys where to find you, Ames, if they want to follow you? You have an excellent channel of your own on YouTube, Twitter, all those good things.
Yeah, it's just Take Ames, TAKEAYMZ on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram if you want to see my pet cat. But yeah, just I'll drop a message in the chat, and if you want to check out some of my content, feel free. Appreciate that, Steve. And you guys as well, Rob and Andy.
No problem at all. You're always welcome back anytime. Thank you to you guys in the chat as well. A few familiar faces, Matthew Russell, Jason Chukwu. Hope you get better soon, Mr. Chukwu, Lee the Alcoholic Frotch, and too many others to mention. We'll be back here for episode 370. Same time, same place next week. I've been Steve Wellings. Bye.